man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
President Trump, sir, today you told Vladimir Putin to stop with the attack. Do you think he'll listen to you?
I do, yeah.
Do you think there's still a chance for peace?
Thank you very much. It's a real honor to have the highly respected, the great Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Norway with us today, who, as you know, has been doing a fantastic job and truly respected throughout the world as a leader. And thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. And we're going to be having a meeting in the Oval Office in a little while where you'll be invited back and you can ask some questions. It's also a pleasure to have my friend who did such a good job at NATO, my great friend, right? So you really did. We started off, they had no money, and they ended up having a lot of money after we said, you got to pay up. But you did a fantastic job, and thank you very much. And I'm glad you're here. Glad we meet each other again under these circumstances. So we'll be meeting in a little while at the Oval Office, and if you have maybe one or two questions, we'll do it now. And after that, we'll go to the Oval.
And on Russia, do you still believe that Putin is serious about peace, given the events overnight in Ukraine? And if that bombing doesn't end, are you considering new sanctions on Russia?
So we are thinking that very strongly that they both want peace, but they have to get to the table. We're waiting a long time. They have to get them to the table, and I think we're going to get peace. We want to save 5,000 young people. I used to say 2,500. I now say 5,000. We have, Mr. Prime Minister, we have about 5,000 young people a week that are dying in that ridiculous war. And, I started out because I didn't like all the money that we were paying, and then I realized how many people were dying And that's by far the more important element right now. I'm saying we can save thousands of people, and I don't like that it takes long at all. But I think they both want to make peace. I do believe so. There's a lot of hatred there. There's a lot of very bad blood, a lot of distrust. But I think I hope we're going to get there for the sake of a lot of young people that are dying.
Mr. President, do you have a deadline for when the party...
I have my own deadline. And we want it to be fast, and the Prime Minister is helping us. He wants it to be fast, too. And I think everybody in this, at this time in NATO, they want to see this thing happen. So we have a deadline, and after that, we're going to have a very much different attitude. But I think it has a very good chance of getting done.
I salute President Trump for having been taking very important initiatives to get this conflict towards an end, which both parties deserve. We need to have a ceasefire, save lives, and move towards something which is more secure for Europe, for the people concerned. And on that we work together. And I look forward to go into some details, because we are at a critical moment. On that price, that is a committee taking care of that, which is completely working on its own terms, and I cannot comment on that.
Can you clarify with whom the U.S. is speaking with China? They're saying it's fake news that trade talks are happening.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is. We may reveal it later, but they had meetings this morning, and we've been meeting with China. And so I think you have, Jeff, as usual, I think you have your reporting wrong. Thank you. I would go. We'll all go together to Norway.
Oh, yes, please do.
I want to go skiing.
Within this year?
I love Norway.
Why? Okay, thank you.
Beautiful. And beautiful people.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Okay, as you may know, the Norwegian Prime Minister is at the White House. Those clips were basically right before they had lunch, as they customarily do. And then, what happens after they have lunch? They have the fireworks of the actual press conference in the Oval Office. Like I've said, I'll keep saying it. This is obviously why things are so calm and easy for Caroline Leavitt, because unlike Joe Biden, President Trump's everywhere. He did a press conference last night, did a press conference yesterday afternoon, and he's about to do another press conference today. And the sad thing about it is they keep asking the same damn questions over and over and over, expecting a different result. I think they call that insanity. I think that's the literal definition of insanity. But nonetheless, that is our press corps. So just to let you know what's on tap for today. When they come on, and they're going to be coming on and doing a press conference, whenever time that is, you will see it live. I will cut to it just as, even if I'm in the middle of something, we will cut to it so you won't miss a single second of the press conference. Then, looking at my notes here, at 2:30, I have Hans Mahncke. If you guys have never heard Hans Mahncke or haven't followed him on Twitter, I would urge you to do so. You can take a look at some of his stuff, in the interim while you're waiting. This is a book he wrote. It's called Swift Boating America. He'll be here at 2:30, and we'll be able to have a quick interview with him and talk about some of the things he's seeing around the White House as well. And then at 3 o'clock, I believe, just let me double check for you. 3 o'clock, am I correct here? 3 o'clock, Monica Paige will be here. Monica Paige, who's one of our favorite White House reporters. She will be here right subsequent. I want you collectively to wish Monica a congratulations on her new marriage. I think she got married 2 weeks ago. So she'll be here at 3 o'clock. So in the interim, I got some stuff for you. I mean, I don't know how long I can get into it, but I can't just sit here and wait. I got to get into it. We got to talk about something. So, not sure if you saw this, but I want to bring it to your attention. Let's do this. All right. That was the thumbnail for today's show. And I wanted to point attention to something. You guys know who that is? Let me know in the chat if you guys know who that man is hanging right above President Trump's head. because it's prominent there. It's obviously when you go into the Oval Office, President Trump has decided to hang this man's portrait right over the Resolute desk. Means he has some admiration for this man. This man, I'm letting you guys see if you guys can do it. Yes, just another knucklehead. Bingo. That is Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson is taking on a lot of importance with everything that you're seeing right now. And I'm going to tell you why, but let me tell you some of the stuff that's been happening even as we look today that makes all of this Andrew Jacksonian stuff become even more important. Let's look at Margot. Margot just posted this a little while ago, and it's something you guys should see. It just keeps happening. It keeps happening. It keeps happening. All right, so Margot posted, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but yet we have another judge who has now jumped in and says, hey, President Trump, this is a district court judge. Another judge who says, effective immediately. President Trump cannot bar the implementation of the DEI in the Department of Education. And he only made him post a $50 bond, which is atrocious. So, and these things are coming out so quickly. Over and over, these things keep happening. Colorado filed one. And let's see who else did one. And they're coming out almost by the day at this point. Sometimes twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And people are seeing this and saying, there's 650 different judges around the country, district court judges that these liberals are running to over and over and over to get these injunctions. And Supreme Court's been sitting on their butt, taking their time, not acting, letting these people do. Maybe it was part of a plan to let them all expose themselves. But it's getting ridiculous at this point. Absurdly ridiculous how these judges are inserting themselves as though they have the ability to run the country. Because essentially these judgments, these decisions are running the country. So they think. Deportations have not stopped. Nothing has stopped. So the prominence of having this photo up there is what we're going to talk about right now. See, I'm not sure if some of you understand what Andrew Jackson's prominence right now and why certain people, even on the left, are kind of freaking out about Andrew Jackson. Because President Trump, as I've said, he may have to go nuclear. Going nuclear in this regard is ignoring the judges, including the Supreme Court. And that is nuclear at that point. At that point, they're going to go crazy. You're going to see certain people on the right even going crazy because we have these hallowed buildings called courts that we have held up to have, everything about this country. We cannot go, but they're supposed to be co-equal. I'm going to talk to Hans about that as well. Remember, if they're co-equal, then the Supreme Court can't really pick up the phone and call the White House and say, do this. The White House can't call up the Supreme Court and say, rule this way. The Supreme Court can't call up Congress or the Senate and say, make this law. By the confines of this document called the Constitution, the only thing you're allowed to adjudicate is your opinion. That's why they call them Supreme Court opinions. A lot of people in the media kind of forget that. They just says the Supreme Court said this is this, and that's it. And I'm like, wait a second. No, the Supreme Court rendered an opinion. In the history of our country, that has never been changed. It is not the Supreme Court made a law. It's not that the Supreme Court said you can't do anything. The Supreme Court rendered an opinion. How many of you understood that discerning fact? That they've never, ever, ever pronounced a law. Even Roe v. Wade. That's why things can be overturned, because it's an opinion of the people who happen to be sitting there at that particular time. It is not, as they always say, settled law. No, it's very much unsettled. It's there until someone else gets their opinion and says, you know what? Let's flip this on its head. No, you cannot do Roe v. Wade. Done. We're getting rid of it. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, somebody may say Roe v. Wade's fine. We're going to put it back in. But every single one, every single opinion by every single court is nothing more than a judgmental opinion. You see, because once you levy that opinion, the next step that you have to make is to enforce that opinion. If you've ever gone to traffic court and they say, hey, listen, you got to pay that fine, you could literally put the middle finger to the judge and tell the judge, go pound sand. I ain't paying anything. Kiss my behind. You could literally say that. And the judge's only recourse at that point is to put you in jail for contempt of court. And then they can say, basically, you stay in here until you pay the fine, or, I feel good about it and letting you out. But that's because the judge at that point can talk to the bailiff and say, grab him and go put him in the pokey. And at that point, that marshal, that bailiff, that deputy will take you because he's been, he doesn't know any better. He thinks that that's what the judge can do. Did you know the judge has no authority to go up and grab you and take you down the hall? See, he can't go anywhere past that bench. That's why they say, deputy, take him into custody. Deputy, do this. Bailiff, do this. Okay, I'll do it because I am an officer of the law. Now, what happens when you make a judgment, an opinion, a decision, and somebody tells you, go stick your opinion, we're not following your opinion, then thanks for your paper. Let me go ahead and wipe my butt with it. What happens at that point? And you have all kinds of opinions, but it boils down to one simple fact. The enforcement of that opinion is completely dependent upon the people you call to enforce it. Now imagine you call the Department of Justice and they say push 1 if you'd like Pam Bondi, push 2 if you'd like to talk to the FBI with Kash Patel, push 3 if you'd like to talk to, Dan Bongino, and push 4 if you're some nutbag judge who thinks we're going to go arrest the president or anybody in the cabinet. Oh, I need to push 4. Yeah, excuse me, sorry, get lost. What do? Well, because that guy has already told us what to do. That guy, who Donald Trump, and I found this picture and I was like, oh my God, that's the best picture. This is the best picture leading into this. This is the President of the United States sitting at the desk with a big old smirking smile sitting under Andrew Jackson. Could that be any more of a tell about what may be happening next? I mean, just think about it. He's sitting there, smirking. Andrew Jackson looking over his shoulder. I got you, Donnie. We gonna do this? Yeah, we're gonna do this. What is it I'm talking about? Some of you, I would have to look at the chat. I don't have the chat up because I'm watching the White House. But I'm sure some of you are like, what in the hell is Barry talking about? Well, we're gonna talk about it. But in order for me to talk about it, I have to play this video for you. You see, Glenn Beck went to the White House last night. Those of you guys who were watching the show last night, I said, watch what Glenn Beck says when he talks to the president. It's going to be something something you're going to want to see. And I'm not sure if you watched it. Well, you probably didn't unless you're a Blaze subscriber. And tonight, I guess he's going to post the entirety of the interview for free. And so tonight, everybody will see the interview. But he has posted a few clips. I want you to pay attention to this clip right here. Right?
The judges are holding everything back. And I used a term that Mike Lee has used, judicial insurrection. Some people, the last administration, they didn't want to check anybody's ID or ask any questions on the way in. Now they all seem to want to check them on the way out.
Yep.
And the judges are, I think it was Senator Mike Lee that said this is judicial insurrection.
Yeah, I think you could say that.
I'm not a big fan of it.
I think you could say that. So he brought it up, and he said, is this a judicial insurrection? You should have been quite comfortable with hearing what the term insurrection means over the last 4 or 5 years. There are about 2,000 people who can tell you what insurrection means. And so he's defining this, Mike Davis is, as a judicial insurrection. All right, let's continue.
Of Andrew Jackson, I know you are. Andrew Jackson took care of this constitutionally.
Right.
Would you consider taking care of this some way or another with the judges in a constitutional way?
Well, I hope we don't have that problem. And I hope we don't have to get into it. But I will say we have millions of people in this country right now that are criminals. And you see how fast we're getting them out. And we're going to get them out even faster. But when you have to get out and do court cases for individual people, and you would have, in theory, millions of court cases, you know what that means. If you had one court case, it takes forever. Millions of court cases? They're really saying you're not allowed to do what I was elected to do. I was elected for a very big part of it was the border and getting people out, because I said, and the stats reveal it, when you look at Tren de Aragua, when you look at MS-13, when you look at these gangs and just really bad criminals coming in, we have many murderers, people that killed, 50% of which killed more than one person. They put them into our country through open borders. And now we have to go to court to get them out. I don't think the people of our country are going to stand for it.
And
so many of you who know my videos, I always want to point something out to you. Did you hear an answer? President Trump is probably one of the most articulate, and I don't mean articulate in terms of vocabulary and everything else, but he's very, very I don't know, what would you call the word? Very descriptive, very pointed, lets you know, holds nothing back. He'll tell you, if the sky's blue, it's blue. You don't even have to ask him twice. He won't even look away. Hey, do you consider this a judicial insurrection? Would you be doing something like Andrew Jackson? Well. What do you mean, well? It's a pretty simple question. You either are or you aren't. So he pretty much answered Glenn's question without having to answer. It was basically winkety wink wink. You see the picture right here, don't you? You see who I'm sitting right in front of. You know that wasn't here, that was put here recently. That is a serious comms, C-O-M-M-S. Those you people who have been following along with some of the red pill stuff, you know exactly what a comms mean is. You might as well put a Morse code out there and let everybody know, dish dash, oh yeah, Andrew Jackson is coming. And so he knows he was being recorded, and President Trump likes to talk about the so-called weave. I'll come back to, no, it wasn't no weave, he just dodged. Nope, not going to answer it. Not going to let you know what's coming. I'm not going to let you know how we're going to get this done. You can start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, because I told you the whole thing with Pete Hegseth and while they are going after him, because he and who's the other one are going after, including some of the Confederates, Pam Bondi. Oh, and then, they're going after Kash Patel because they can see it. It's right in front of them. If you've got Kash Patel, and if you've got Pam Bondi, and you've got Pete Hegseth, that's all the puzzle pieces. Those are the Infinity Stones for those of you who have seen the movie. And so everybody's out there, hey, there's been no arrest, there's no... Perhaps, as I asked Kyle Seraphin, perhaps there's something much, much, much bigger brewing. Not arrest, protection. You see, if he flips that switch, it will be across the board, 24/7 media, people on the right, the Murkowskis, everybody will be screaming. There will be people rioting in the streets. It will be insane when he comes out, and I don't even know if he needs a pronunciation or he just says, this is what I'm going to do, my fellow Americans. Maybe it's a White House speech. Maybe it's a nighttime chat. And the camera pans in on President Trump, and he says, my fellow Americans, we are at a position right now in our government. And as he's talking, the trucks are rolling. Because that's how it would happen, to make sure everything is protected. He's not going to do it and then, no, everybody would have to be in sync across the board. Tom Homan, Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, everybody. It's not about arrest anymore. In my mind, it's not about arrest. Stop talking about arrest. This is constitutionally explosive. Barry, you're crazy. This is crazy. No, you think so? He's sitting in front of Andrew Jackson. Right in front of him. Smiling. Think about it in your own mind right now, because I think you need to prep for it. What happens if he goes nuclear? How are you going to feel? Is it going to test your loyalty, your fealty to President Trump? You voted for it. You said, get all these people out of here. You're complaining about the judges. Are you ready for a complete reset? Barry, man, you're really going out there. No, I'm just looking at the breadcrumbs. This can't possibly continue. I think we all can 100% agree on that. Yes. Congress cannot get it done. Or won't get it done. Either way. What are we supposed to do? They're not going to get 60 votes. They're going to take forever. The midterms are not that far away. Okay, hotshot, as Dennis Hopper said, what's your plan? What's your plan to get these people out of here, to get the idiots that are burning stuff and doing... What's your plan, if not go full Jacksonian nuclear? There is none. That's their last hope. That's their last hope. They're clawing to the walls, hoping that the judges are followed. And then if they aren't followed, then they're hoping that the media can pull up a big enough storm where it causes people to get out there and riot and burn and everything. You guys been checking the FCC guy? Have you been checking some of the stuff he's been saying? You've been checking some of the lawsuits against CBS and some of these outlets? Have you missed that breadcrumb? Where possibly it could go, boom, you're done. You're off the air. Oh, but the Fifth Amendment, no, First Amendment, He's got Voice of America. He's got Carrie Lake there. You could turn on one day and every single station is Voice of America. Here we go, people. We'll get it back. We'll get back to your regularly scheduled programming once we get things fixed. I haven't even looked over here at the chat because I noticed some people saying, Barry, you done gone crazy. You're crazy. Am I? Am I as crazy as Democrats flying to El Salvador to hail their new constituent, the Maryland man? Am I that crazy? Or am I talking about protecting America? Are you talking about protecting America? Because at this point, we do have two warring factions. We are at war. I said that the other day. Some people are like, oh, Barry, that sounds crazy. Crazier than people that were elected to uphold the Constitution flying to El Salvador? Crazier than people being in front of Supreme Court asking whether or not Pride Puppy can be shown to kids, and whether parents have any right to tell their kids, or tell, I don't want my kids to see this? Am I being crazier than that? Or am I making a whole lot of sense? Let's continue.
Talk to him about, Andrew Jackson. He's a fan of Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson, he went to court with the federal judges, not the Supreme Court, the federal judges. And he said, well, they've got their opinion, I have mine. The good thing about judges is they don't have an enforcement arm. So let them enforce it. And he just went on. And constitutional, he just kept going.
Mike Davis.
Just went on. So Andrew Jackson, and people haven't been able to really confirm or attribute that quote to him, but it's been attributed to being in his orbit, with that quote meaning the Supreme Court or this court said this, and supposedly, no confirmation, Andrew Jackson said, well, let them enforce it. He called their bluff. He said, you see this piece of paper? This paper doesn't blow up, this paper doesn't shoot, this paper doesn't have handcuffs, it's a flipping piece of paper. That's all this is. What are you going to do about it? And no president really, well, there was one, Eisenhower, has really said, take this piece of paper, like Johnny Paycheck said, take this paper and shove it. He said, take this job and shove it. What happens? What happens to you? See, I'm not worried about the libs. We already know predictably what they're going to do. We already know what the media will do. And we even know what rhinos will do. What we need to find out is each of you in the chat and people you speak to who may be Trump supporters, what are you going to do? Is it going to test the limits of your support for President Trump? Should this happen?
Lawfare continues to this day, but it's now risen to a level that we are in a constitutional crisis, sir.
We are in a constitutional crisis because the American people put President Trump back into the White House because he promised to bring bold reforms to Washington, D.C. to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, to secure our border, to get illegal immigrants, particularly international gangs and foreign terrorists, the hell out of our country. The American people strongly support this. They gave the president the House of Representatives and a comfortable majority in the Senate. They gave him a broad electoral mandate. They 311 electoral votes, all 7 swing states, the popular votes, and the president is doing the unthinkable. He's actually doing what he promised American voters he would do, and he is doing that on day one. Last time when he won, he had never run for office. He had never been in office. He made mistakes, including on personnel. This time he's not making those mistakes. He's ready to govern on day one, and he's exercising his core Article 2 powers as the chief executive officer, as the commander-in-chief. And you have these activist lawyers and plaintiffs going to these activist judges, particularly in Washington, D.C., and they are sabotaging the president of the United States. They are sabotaging his Article 2 executive powers. He's not stealing Congress's legislative powers under Article 1. He's not stealing the Supreme Court's Article 3 judicial powers. If he were doing that, I want the courts to strike down a president who steals powers. That would speed up our goal of dismantling the administrative state. These judges are D.C. Obama and Biden judges. They are activist judges. They are not performing judicial review. They are performing judicial sabotage. And this is unconstitutional what they're doing, and it's getting very dangerous.
It's getting extremely dangerous because it basically becomes the Civil War I don't think any of us really wants to see happen. So let me show you something, because this is a really important document. As I've said many times here, I encourage you to do your own research. I encourage you greatly to go look up things when I tell you things. So I'm going to show you something, and it's long. We'll spend some time going through it, but I want you to read this, and as soon as President Trump comes up, we're probably going to have to break. Well, not probably. We will break and go to him speaking. So as soon as that happens, we will go to it. But I want you to check this out, and we're going to go through this together, and it may open some people's eyes. It may scare some people. It's not an easy thing to be. What we're talking about right now is not easy. It tests the limits of your fortitude at this point. So this website, just so you know, is called fjc.gov. And any one of you can go to fjc.gov. And it's the Federal Judiciary, what's it called? What's it actually called? Federal Judicial Center. There it is right there. Federal Judicial Center. That's the name of this. This is where I found this. And it says, as you can see the title of it, on the Federal Judicial Center website. This isn't some newspaper, blog, this is on the Federal Judicial website. .gov. It's a government page. All right? So I want you to look at this. And it may be dry, but it's important we go through this. And I'm sorry if it ends up sounding like, well, not sounding, but I'm going to read this because it's important you understand what you're hearing. And I don't want anyone to say, Barry's crazy, he's misleading us. This is directly from this page. So let's look on together. Judges and legal scholars have long observed that public confidence in the federal judiciary. Okay, no, this is not the Oval Office. This is what we already saw. Is essential to its functioning. Federal courts, including the Supreme Court of the United States, have limited powers. All right, I want to highlight that. Look at this sentence right there. Federal courts, including the Supreme Court of the United States, have limited powers to ensure compliance with their decisions. The first paragraph on this website says, we make decisions, but we don't have much power to enforce it. Did you know that? While courts may punish disobedience by using the contempt power, for example, this remedy does not itself guarantee compliance. Even if you went to court and they said you need to pay the traffic ticket and you say no, they can put you in jail for contempt of court, but it doesn't get the ticket paid. Right? Right. All right. A strong belief in the rule of law and respect for the courts as fair and impartial arbiters has historically resulted in substantial compliance. So the only reason judicial opinions get enforced is because respect. Not my words. Right there. A strong belief in the rule of law and respect of the courts as being fair and impartial. That is what has basically guaranteed our judges and their opinions are actually enforceable. And we believe this is what, you did this in good faith, and we have respect for you. And so I believe it was fair and just. And so then, we'll go ahead and enforce it. They'll call the local sheriff on you, whatever. Where are we? On rare occasions, however, court decisions have engendered such controversy as to inspire defiance. In these cases, the court may turn to the executive branch for assistance in enforcing their orders. Read that. Let that sink in. On rare occasions, court decisions have been so controversial, they have inspired defiance. Okay, so then what you do? In those cases, the court turns to the executive branch for assistance in enforcing the orders. Hey, President Trump, yeah, can you enforce the order we just did? You're seeing it now, right? Can you guys go make sure that you stop Can you please stop deporting people? No, I don't think you're being fair. I don't think you're being impartial. So lose my number. Whether the executive is obligated to enforce final court judgments has remained a matter of debate. I'm just reading you what's on here. While such an obligation may be inferred from Article 2, and this is what we'll ask Hans, command that the President, quote, shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, unquote, or from the overall constitutional structure, the question has not ever been resolved. So we're at a situation right now where if President Trump were to do something Jacksonian, everybody's going to stand around and go, what did we do? Well, we've never been here. Oh, actually, we have. Actually, we have been here before. Let's continue. While such an obligation may be inferred, the question has not been resolved. Appealing to the executive branch for help has not been a viable strategy. Therefore, when the chief executive, that would be him, President Trump, has strongly opposed a court ruling, and on at least two notable occasions, federal court decisions have been rendered unenforceable as a result of the president's refusal to accept them. Okay, he's thinking it so. In Worcester versus Georgia in 1832, the Supreme Court overturned the conviction of a missionary living among the Cherokee Nation for refusing to take the oath to obey the laws of Georgia. In an opinion written by Chief Justice John Marshall, the court held that the Cherokee constituted an independent political community in which the state of Georgia could not apply its laws. Accordingly, the court ordered Worcester his release from custody. So if you're following along at home, the Supreme Court says this guy gets to go free. You can't hold him. Okay. Georgia's governor refused to release the missionary, vowing to defy the court decision. President Andrew Jackson refused to intervene, maintaining that Georgia had the right to apply its laws to any person living within its borders. Jackson also embraced the view that both the executive and legislative branches had as much right as the judicial branch to interpret the Constitution. All right, you let that set in? President Jackson said, I can interpret it, you can interpret it, and they can interpret it, and none of us has a higher interpretation. So, I'm sorry, court? No. You're seeing how this plays out, right? And while the story is likely apocryphal, Jackson supposedly remarked, John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it. The quotation is believed to have appeared in an 1864 newspaper publisher, Horace Greeley. Eventually, Jackson acted in direct contravention of the court's decision. Ignoring the court ruling that the Cherokees were an independent people entitled to the land in which they lived, Jackson sent federal troops to evict them. The result was the Cherokees' forced and deadly migration went along the infamous, as you know now, the Trail of Tears. So Andrew Jackson told the court, not going to do it. I run this. I'm the boss now. And there was nothing they could do about it. And you've got scholars and people who have written about this and have opinions and everything else, but the bottom line, as of today, right now, nobody has said definitively he can't do that. They have their opinions. Oh, that would cause a constitutional crisis. Oh, this would be this and that would be that. Can he do it? Or can he not do it? One question, can he do it? Yeah, he can do it because there's no enforcement. There's no possible way for the courts to enforce it. And there were a couple other. But in terms of that, and he's got the thing on Andrew Jackson sitting behind him. So that's where I believe we are. I think we're at the precipice where everybody can see what's going on and everybody can acknowledge what's happening. Nobody really wants to see it happen, but it might have to happen because these judges are out of control and they have no power of enforcement. None. Zero. They can't stop anything he can do. Now, is that a risk? Yeah, it's a risk politically because, 2 years from now, he could lose the House. He could lose the Senate. People can be in an uproar. Yeah, that's possible. It's very possible. Is it worth it today to clean things up and clean it up before the midterms? Sign me up. Make the call, President. Do it. I don't think you have any choice. I think at this point they have put you in a box, and they're thinking they're sitting pretty with all these stupid decisions telling you what you can and can't do. Now it's put up or shut up time for these judges, because when he tells them, and you'll hear the first one that he says go pound sand, the media is going to explode because they will realize at that point it's been triggered. It's basically game on. So my question, are you ready? Gina's like, absolutely worth it. He's telling you with the picture without telling you, President Trump. Yeah, I mean, that picture and how he was just, man, you'd have to be somewhat obtuse not to see what he's done. And how all this stuff is happening, almost like he's letting these judges get out there and do their dirty work and pop up like whack-a-mole. Okay, that one. Oh, that one too. Oh, Judge Merchant. Oh, this one too. And no one's going to tell you that they have zero enforcement capabilities. You have to read yourself and go to that website on the Judicial Center itself, where they actually put it in black and white. They got nothing they can do. And I know some of you, probably some who think I'm crazy, are looking at it and go, wait, well, can they, they can't call them. What if no, they can't call them. Who are you going to do? What you going to do? Who are you going to call? Not Ghostbusters. They're not showing up. Who are you going to call to make President Trump do this? Now you got to look at the flip side. Because the flip side is more incredible than the side we just talked about. The flip side is, what can President Trump do? Well, have the military go down and round these people up. Have Pam Bondi go ahead and start putting these people in the clinker. Have the FBI start, just follow where this can go. So I had thought to myself, what's bigger? What's bigger than the Epstein list? What's bigger than Diddy? What's bigger than January 6th that these people could possibly be working on? And I'm like, yeah, because I've seen Pam Bondi work, so everyone's screaming about arrest. I'm like, that's small, as they said in the mob movies, that's small potatoes. That's small potatoes compared to what Trump may be thinking. Can you even imagine the plan that would have to be put in place if the Supreme Court says you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to give it? I'm like, no, yeah, fly all these people to Gitmo. Get them out of here. How many people can fit in Gitmo? 30,000 right now? That's a lot of people from the media. That's a lot of people in government. That's a lot of people who may decide they want to turn against the government. As you see these leakers and things that they're doing. Maybe all this stuff is to sniff out who are the leakers, who are the bad people. I don't know, but I'm asking you to now play game plan this out and think for yourself. Going, this could get crazy. Trump is a genius. He is letting all these people expose themselves publicly. So proud of Trump, and with that, he keeps letting you know. You see this crazy one? Oh, you seen this crazy decision? Oh, here comes another one. Oh, you can't fire anybody. You can't. You got to do a deposition. We need to know what you're thinking. Give us all your discovery. Get out of here. You're not getting anything. Their only chance is to use the media to whip people up into a frenzy and get people on the left out there burning stuff. That's it. And some of you guys are probably thinking, how did we get here? Oh, Jay says, how we got to where we are. Oops, sorry. Robin just came home, so Midas is making sure he heard somebody. Yeah, the heck with Epstein and Diddy. Who cares? Not me. Care about my country. Exactly. And I think to myself, I think people mean well. Shut up over there. I think people mean well. I think they completely want things to work out and get these people on Epstein list because we all care about the kids. But you can't get those kids and you can't get those other arrests put in place if these judges are going to protect them. That's what I think people are missing. You can't arrest Hillary. You can't arrest this person or Hunter Biden. You can't arrest any of these people because they'll just go to the judge, give him the winky wink, and the judge is like, okay, let him go. No, he's all right. Yeah. No, we're going to throw this out. No, the cleansing that we need is a monstrous enema. An enema of epic proportions needs to happen before you get to those files. What if some of the names on those files are the very same people who are doing stuff right now and telling Trump he can't do this and can't do that? Have you thought about that? Nobody knows whose names are on those files, but if a certain number of judges are on there or Congress people, you can't expect the congressional people or Senate people to be ruling against something that's in their own best interest. All of this insider trading, they're not going to stop it. Who's going to stop it? An executive order. No more trading. The question is, how did we get here? We got here from decades of absolute lawlessness and lack of information. That's how we got here. All these judges keep Taiwanese judges to bring these criminal backs enough. And I'm not telling you that this is where it's going. Again, I'm just looking at all the little breadcrumbs in a row. All of them. Not one by itself. One by itself, oh, this is a crazy judge in Seattle. Or this is a crazy judge here. Or that's a dumb judge. And yesterday, I don't know if you know this. Yesterday, the people in Congress, Democrats, voted against no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and so on. Midas, please. So they're completely against. Hold on one second. Let me see what he's barking at. Or shut the door and lock him out there. 1 second. I told Robin, I said, you know what, I'm going to have to invest in a studio so Midas and Lily don't think that they're on camera, because sometimes I think they think they're stars. We're stars. Put us on TV. But yeah, I'm like, so, let's see here. Precious says, so are you saying possibly the judges will be arrested? Possibly. Don't know. All I'm saying, and let me be quite succinct with it. All I'm saying is, all of the breadcrumbs, oops, here we go, we're live, we're in the Oval Office, good timing, and we'll come back to your comment. All right, hold on, let me cut here.
We have Jonas Gahr Støre here, who is as you know, the Prime Minister of Norway. He's a great gentleman, highly respected, beloved in his country, and we've had talks on the war with Ukraine and Russia, and trade. We're doing very well, I think, on both. We've had some pretty good movement in every respect. The war is very important that it ends with, I used to say, 2,500 people a week dying young people, mostly soldiers from Russia and Ukraine, and we want to end that war. We want to end it quickly, and I think we've made a lot of progress, and we'll see what happens. This next few days is going to be very important. Meetings are taking place right now. Additionally, we talked about trade, and we get along very well on trade. We'll do something, but I think the Prime Minister knows that over the years the United States has been very good to a lot of people, and it's time for us to benefit also. So we're going to have a good relationship on trade, and we discussed other things also. But Mr. Prime Minister, it's an honor to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This year is 200 years since the first immigration from Norway to the U.S. We come here early in your term. Appreciate that you take time. We have highlighted that very close cooperation. We are allies. We look after security in the north, in the Arctic. A lot of confidence between our services. We have discussed in detail the war in Ukraine. I have saluted the President for his initiative to make progress towards something that can be a ceasefire and an end to this terrible conflict. It is a complex picture, but it needs political will and push, and we have exchanged ideas on that. And then I think the President and his team have been open to hear our perspectives. And on trade, we have also emphasized strong partnership.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Yes. First, Mr. President, have you spoken about the tariff that you want to impose on Norway? Is there a chance that you can lower?
We spoke about trade, and we understand each other very well. I think we'll have no problem.
You think that you will get an agreement?
I think we'll have no problem whatsoever with Norway.
Mr. President,
a possible visit to Norway? Did you discuss a possible visit for President Trump to
We
Norway?
didn't, but I love it. I mean, I've been there, and it is a beautiful place. They have.
But I told the President that, he is receiving us early in the term. He's welcome to visit Norway. We would like to have him, and it will be another way of emphasizing this strong friendship.
Mr. President, Norway has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine since the Russian invasion in 2022. Has something been discussed here today that may have altered your views on things?
No, we want to, very simply, I have no allegiance to anybody. I have allegiance to saving lives, and I want to save a lot of lives. A lot of young people, mostly young people. It's the war. It's the soldiers. And if we can do that, also, as you know, I got started because the money that's been spent on this war is insane. It should have never happened. And it would have never happened if I were president. But Biden spent $350 billion on this, and it's a shame. And that's what got me involved. And then I looked at, and I see the results. It's horrible. It's a killing field. 5,000 soldiers a week on average. And we want to stop that. We both want to stop that for a lot of reasons, but I would say that is my number one reason.
Why do you think that you will get Russia to accept a deal that also Ukraine and Europe is willing to accept?
I think so, yeah. I do. I believe they will accept, and I think we're going to get this over with. I hope so, soon.
You continue to lack support from NATO allies in your goal of obtaining Greenland. How will you proceed if you don't get that support?
Well, Greenland's going to be interesting, but that's for another day. I think we need that for international peace.
What are you expecting of your
And if you
allies?
don't have that, I think it's a big threat to our world. So I think Greenland's very important for international peace. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, this morning in Truth Social Post, you used the words, Vladimir, stop. That seemed like a slightly different message, a personal message. What is your level of frustration with President Putin?
I didn't like last night. I wasn't happy with it. And we're in the midst of talking peace, and missiles were fired. And I was not happy with it. That's what I meant, and that's, what it is. I assume that's what you mean.
Sorry,
yeah,
if the bombs keep falling, will you consider additional sanctions toward Russia, or what will you do if President Putin does not respond?
I'd rather answer that question in a week. I want to see if we can have a deal. no reason to answer it now, but I won't be happy. Let me put it that way. Things will happen.
Mr. President, why are you not putting more pressure on Russia? I know a lot of Europeans.
Putting a lot of pressure. You don't know what pressure I'm putting on Russia. They're dealing. You have no idea what pressure I'm putting on Russia. We're putting a lot of pressure.
Can you maybe tell us that?
We're putting a lot of pressure on Russia, and Russia knows that, and some people that are close to it know, or he wouldn't be talking right now. The Prime Minister understands that better than anybody. He wouldn't be talking right now. He's talking, and we're putting a lot of pressure. I think he wants to make a deal. We're going to find out very soon, but it takes two to tango, and you have to have Ukraine want to make a deal too, and they're being hit very hard, and I do believe they want to make a deal.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, if I may.
You said that the Ukraine have to give some territory to win peace, among them Crimea. Do you stand by that? And I know that the former NATO General Secretary today has told you that he does not agree, and he believes in territorial integrity of the Ukraine. How will you deal with that with your allies? And do you stand by that Ukraine have to give?
Former Secretary General happens to be right here, you know, so they can't put words in his mouth. He's been a great general, frankly. It was because that's what you are. Really, you're a general. But he's been a great Secretary General. We had a tremendous relationship, very successful, and I think he could speak for himself. He's right here.
But do you still agree that Ukraine have to give some territory away to win peace?
Well, it depends what territory. They've been fighting. They've lost a lot of territory. And we'll do the best we can. Working with Ukraine, we'll do the best we can. But they lost a lot of territory. When you say Crimea, that was handed over during a president named Barack Hussein Obama. That had nothing to do with me, Crimea. That was 11 years ago with Obama. And they made a decision. There wasn't a bullet fired. There was no fighting. There was no anything. They just handed it over. Now they say, well, can you get it back? I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to do. That was given by Barack Obama when he was president, not by Donald Trump.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
President.
President.
You had a long meeting,
peace
Mr. President.
proposal that you put on the table. It's a 30-day ceasefire proposal. Your national security team presented it to both Ukraine and Russia. 2 months ago, Ukraine agreed to that ceasefire proposal. Immediately, Russia has not. And my question is Russia the obstacle to peace based upon that, just getting to that 30-day ceasefire?
I don't think so. I think that they both want peace right now. They're ready to do something. We'll see what happens. Complicated, very complicated. But I think they are both very much looking to make a deal. Marco, what would you say?
Well, first of all, what was put before our partners was options to discuss about things that it would take to end a war. This war is endable. Both sides just have to agree to it. We've shown them a pathway forward. We've discussed those ideas. It was a good meeting yesterday. There'll be good meetings over the weekend. We've shown them the finish line. We need both of them to say yes. But what happened last night with those missile strikes should remind everybody of why this war needs to end. It's horrible those missiles landed. What's even worse is there are today people that were alive yesterday that are not alive today because this war continues, and the president wants to stop it. And everyone should be thanking the president for being a peacemaker and trying to save lives. That's what we're trying to do here. It's not our war. We didn't start it, as you know. But we're trying to end the dying. We're trying to end the destruction. And we've shown the path forward. We can see the finish line, but both of them have to get there. We're going to do everything we can to help them get there, but they have to ultimately say yes.
And we are using a lot of pressure on both. You know, if you think we're just in there because we're nice people, and we are nice people, but we're using a lot of pressure on both.
What concessions, Mr. President, and to your national security team, what concessions has Russia offered up thus far to get to the point where you're closer to peace?
Stopping the war. Stopping taking the whole country. Pretty big concession.
Mr. President, if you are going to take down the tariffs, what do you want Norway to buy more of from the U.S.?
To buy more? Well, you don't need snow. You don't need skis. You don't need ski champions either, right? You have a lot of them. We just want to keep the relationship the way it is. We've had a great relationship. I think now maybe closer than ever, but we've had a great relationship with Norway. I think just keep it the way it is, kid. You can't do better.
Really? Not even by, say, a
Well, if they want to give us some additional concessions, that's okay. You can't do much better. Yes, yes.
Mr. President, you've had a long meeting with Norway today. You said that Norway is doing a lot of things right, but on the Ukraine, if I can ask both you and the Prime Minister, did you find common ground today on Ukraine and the peace plan?
Totally. It's totally common ground. The Prime Minister can speak about it, but I can just say he wants to see people stop dying more than anything else, and he'd like to see it end. He's going to help us end it.
Mr. President, can I say that to move towards an end of this war, U.S. engagement is critical, and President Trump made that possible. That is clear, that is obvious, it's really happening. Now the important thing is that both parties have to know that they have to deliver, and they have to feel the pressure to deliver. Ukraine is under attack. They are defending themselves. Lives are being lost. And we believe very firmly that there needs to be a ceasefire. The initiative taken by the US some time ago, it needs to be respected. And then to move on to something which both parties can own. That is the complicated part in such a dramatic war. And here I believe Europeans and Americans working together, as we do much closer now. I salute the team of President Trump of being, open in that process. We had a good discussion on this today. And then we have to move on, and we cannot lose time because this is too much drama happening. One thing is people losing their lives, but it is a bad thing for Europe, and it's a bad thing for the world to having such a broad conflict going on. It can have ramifications far beyond Ukraine.
Mr. President, a follow-up question on China. Mr. President, if I forgot my question. I wanted to ask about sorry.
That happens.
It happens sometimes, yeah. No, Mr. President, I wanted to ask about the. Zelensky has said that he wants more Patriot missiles. So far, there has been no response from the United States. If you and the United States decides to pull out of negotiating for peace, trying to broker peace, does that also mean a no on Patriot missiles, a no on sharing intelligence with Ukraine?
Let's see what happens. I think we're going to make a deal. And if we make a deal, that'll be wonderful. We won't have to worry about your question. You can ask that question in 2 weeks, and we'll see. But I think we're getting very close. The Prime Minister feels the same way, and we'll hopefully not have to answer that question.
Mr. President, Norway is the third country to be officially invited to the White House after Liberation Day. Why did you invite Norway so soon to the White House?
Because I like them. And I like your Prime Minister, and I like the way your government runs. And I respect the King. He's highly respected in Norway. It's a great thing, not an easy thing to do. He's done a great job. Yeah.
Would you like an invitation to visit the King?
Absolutely. You get me that invitation.
I just told the President he's welcome to visit Norway.
President Trump,
yeah,
you've said before that you like the Norwegian Petroleum Fund, and I'm wondering if that has been up for discussion today, the way that the infrastructure are running and whether
Well, this fund was created in the late 1990s to save for future generations the income from oil and gas. Norwegians should continue to work as hard, dedicated, innovate, and move forward, despite having these incomes, which we happen to be in the period of our history where we can harvest, and we have transferred that into investments, half of them, by the way, here in the United States. So I think this is a model which we have been able to explore. If we can share experiences, and we do with our colleagues in the US, you never copy this one-to-one, but there can be techniques and way of working that we have used in organizing our fund. Jens Stoltenberg was the finance minister when the first dollar entered that fund, so he is a safe hand to have as a finance minister today. What do you say?
No, and as you said, Mr. Prime Minister, we are ready to sit down with the US to also work with them on if they want to establish a sovereign wealth fund, because we have a good experience with our fund. And I think that one example of how we work together with the United States is that half of the fund, close to $1 trillion US, are invested in the United States, mainly in equity, but also some in fixed income, including government bonds. So this is an expression of trust in the United States, expressed by the strong investment of the sovereign wealth fund. Then just briefly on Ukraine, since it was mentioned, we had a very good and extensive discussion about Ukraine, the path forward to peace. And as the Prime Minister said, we commend the US for pushing forward to try to find a negotiated solution. At the same time, we need to continue to support Ukraine, and therefore I'm proud that Norway has actually tripled the military support to Ukraine, and this year we will allocate close to $8 billion to Ukraine. That will strengthen them and also their hand on the negotiating table.
Let me add to that, if there's a peace, and there will be a peace, we have a common responsibility in securing democratic Ukraine for the future. And the best security guarantee they can have is the ability to defend themselves. And we are investing in that.
Mr. Prime Minister, if I may...
As it relates to tariffs, Mr. President, when you unveiled your reciprocal tariffs on April the 2nd, the tariff rate for Norway was 15%. Based upon your conversations that you've had today with the Prime Minister, do you see that tariff rate coming down from what you proposed just a few weeks ago?
Well, they have a great fund of $2 trillion. It's a big fund. And they don't have any debt. So I think they'd probably be willing to pay us more than that, I hope.
Are the two agreements?
Mr. President,
Yes.
in 2018, your former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called for an end to Russian occupation of Crimea. Why does this administration, why has this administration changed its stance on territorial concessions?
Well, the war started. It would have never started if I were president. This is a war that is horrible. All wars are horrible. This one is in particular bad. And I don't know that you can ever say there's going to be a winner to this because so many lives have been lost. Not only soldiers, a lot of lives have been lost. I think that we want to do one very simple thing. It would have never happened if I were president. Zero chance it was going to. And it didn't. People say, how do you know that? Number one, it didn't happen. We never even discussed it. I would talk to Putin about it. It was the apple of his eye. Ukraine was the apple of Putin's eye, but there was never even a thought that he'd go in. And I think he understood that I would not be happy if he did. And it was only when I got out, and when you mention what happened to Ukraine years ago under President Obama and a vice president that was also president later, unfortunately for this country, what happened is large chunks of land were given up, and it was called Crimea, and that was a big thing. That was a big moment. But this isn't my war. This is Biden's war. This is a war that Biden was president when this war happened. But I'm trying to put out the fire, and I think we'll be successful. And if we do, we're going to save a lot of lives. Otherwise, and the Prime Minister had a statement. He said, this is just a point in time. We're very lucky because this is a point. And if this doesn't happen, this could go on for a long time.
Mr. President, will you have meetings with other world leaders when you're in Rome, sir?
Future Democrat president?
I don't think he will. I think he wants to make peace. I think he wants to end it. And I feel pretty confident of that. But we're gonna know pretty soon.
Mr. President, do you have meetings with other world leaders when you're in Rome?
Yes, I will.
Which leaders do you want to meet, sir?
Well, I'd like to meet them all. That would be nice. I'd like to take care of all of them. But we have many of them there, and they all want to meet. They want to meet about trade. And we are making some great inroads and great deals. You might want to speak about that, Mr. Secretary.
We had a very successful bilateral meeting with the Republic of South Korea today. We may be moving faster than I thought, and we will be talking technical terms as early as next week as we reach an agreement on understanding as soon as next week. So South Koreans came early. They came with their A game, and we will see if they follow through on that.
Do you think you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize if you manage to create?
Do I deserve the Nobel Peace
If you manage to create peace?
Well, maybe for the Abraham Accords. I don't want to get ahead of myself on this one, but they say for the Abraham Accords, and by the way, speaking of that, we're going to be filling it up. A lot of countries want to come into the Abraham Accords. We have 4. And Biden did nothing on that one, too. It's the same 4. but they're great countries, and they were brave doing it, and it's worked out very well. And we're going to be filling up the Abraham Accords. They're going to be, I think, filling it up very rapidly. Marco, could you say something about that?
There's great, enormous opportunity to grow the Abraham Accords, but I would just point to one thing. Of all the leaders in the world today, no leader is working harder to prevent wars or end them than President Trump is right now. That's why we're talking to Iran. That's why we're engaged with Ukraine and Russia. It's the desire to prevent these wars from breaking out and to end the ones that exist already. And again, I just think it's tremendous for our country to be led by a president who desires to bring peace and establish peace and protect peace. So it's hard work.
Mr. President.
You know, Marco just mentioned something that maybe we should talk about for just a second, if we could, Mr. Prime Minister. And you're involved in it too, because you've been involved in the world and peace. But I think we're doing very well with respect to Iran, and we're having very serious meetings. And there are only two options, and the one option is not a good option. It's not a good option at all. And I think we're doing very well on an agreement with Iran, but that one, we're doing a lot of things, I will say, but that one is well on its way. We could have a very, very good decision, and a lot of lives will be saved.
Mr. President, on the economy, there was a slowdown. Mr. President, on the economy, there was a slowdown as it relates to home sales in the month of March, the slowest pace since 2009. Is that an economic indicator, and perhaps the Treasury Secretary can weigh in on this as well, is that an economic indicator that concerns you about the broader U.S. economy?
No, they had very good numbers on housing today, extremely good numbers, and that's despite interest rates, because, you know, if you look at what happened, everyone said, oh, I said I was going to get prices down. I did. Energy just hit $1.98 in a couple of states. It's way down. Energy's down, and we're about $64 a barrel. When I came in, and we were looking at $89, $90, $95. And by the way, that helps us solve the war too. Having those energy prices is a big incentive for Russia to also agree with solving the war problem. Groceries are down. When I was with you 2 months ago, you were complaining about eggs. I said, I just got here. I was here for about a week when the press started saying about eggs have gone through the roof. I said, I just got here. Tell me about eggs. And they happened. They went through the roof and you couldn't get them. So we just had a big Easter egg hunt at the White House. Thousands and thousands of eggs. And the price was down 87%. So we did a great job. Housing is doing very well. We should lower interest rates. That's the Fed. I hope they lower interest rates. That's the smart thing to do. Be ahead a little bit, although already it's a little bit late. But in the end, we just have a great country. We have a very strong country, and we have every other country. I can't think of one country that doesn't want to negotiate a deal. And they either negotiate a deal or we set a deal that we think is fair. Because we don't have to go through all of these. It would be physically impossible. You know, you have so many people that really understand it, which is a very small group of people here. And we are going to, at some point, just set prices for deals. Some will be tariffed. Some treated us very unfairly. They'll be tariffed higher than others. But we've been ripped off for many, many years. The United States has been ripped off like no country probably in the history of the world has been ripped off for 45, 50 years. And countries have gotten rich by doing that with the United States. We've taken care of their militaries, and military is another subject we talk about. We're not going to make that subject to any of the deals, but you know the same countries that I do, where we virtually take care of their military, and then don't get treated fairly on trade. So the people, and I don't blame those countries, I blame the people that sat at that beautiful desk right behind you, because those people didn't do the job for this country, and they let us lose $4 billion a day on trade. We were losing $4 or $5 billion a day on trade when I got here, and now we're going to be much better than breaking even, and we're going to be making $4 or $5 billion a day on trade. So, but I don't blame any country, not the worst of them. We were abused by countries. I blame the President of the United States that happened to be sitting when these deals were made. Disgraceful. When I was here, we had a great 4 years. We had the most successful economy in the history of our country, my first term. and we were very tough on trade. And with China, as you know, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. But nobody else ever did that. China paid not 10 cents to any other president. And but not only China, virtually every country got away with murder. And we just can't let that happen. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, that's it. Okay, so Prime Minister of Norway, also in attendance, was, it seems, the head of NATO. So they might be talking about the Ukraine war. I'm waiting to see when Hans checks in. But while we're waiting for Hans, I want to go back to the article. We can cover a little bit of this article while we're waiting for Hans to come on in. So I left off showing you specifically that the courts have zero ability to enforce anything. There's nothing that they can do except go to the media, complain, have the nuts go crazy. But in terms of being able to force President Trump to accept their order, they can't do anything. So I just want to close with this because you guys had seen it, but I just want to just close with this paragraph here. If you remember, the name of the case was Worcester. And it says, while Worcester and Merriman pose serious challenges to the enforceability of judgments, some of the most sustained and violent efforts to delegitimize and disobey the mandates of the courts incurred in the wake of Supreme Court's 1954 decision in Brown versus Brown in response to the court holding that racial segregation of public schools was unconstitutional, and at that point Eisenhower had to send in the army. So it's just the opposite. So when the local people wouldn't enforce Brown versus Brown, they wouldn't let the black kids go into the schools, just the opposite took place. The president sent in the army to make sure that happened. I bring that up for one reason, so that you know that his powers, the presidential powers, go both ways. He can completely not even recognize a Supreme Court order, or he could enforce a Supreme Court order with the military. Those are some extremely vast powers, and I don't think these people like Norm Eisen and some of the people on these different networks understand that sheer power that the president has. It is indeed a nuclear decision at that point. Either way. Because I want you to think of it this way. Imagine that the Supreme Court comes out and says, everybody has to get out. The president has the authority to do pretty much what he wants to do to get these people out of here. What do you think is going to happen? So now, at the same token, because people are talking about habeas this and habeas that, and he can put people in the streets. Hey, listen, the court said that these people all can be removed. We're having a problem. We've got these different jurisdictions like New York and Chicago and different jurisdictions saying, nope, we're not gonna work with ICE. We're not gonna work with them to get people out of here. New York said, we're not giving you access to the prison to go in and get these gang members out. So it goes both ways, and either way, he makes the call. So I want you to really absorb, go ahead and read this and see. Eisenhower actually sent the military into, where was it, Arkansas or where Little Rock, Arkansas. You wouldn't let the black kids into school. We're not going to do it. Okay, when we start rolling in, well, back then they didn't have Humvees, but when we start rolling into Humvees, I bet you're going to change your mind. And it wasn't the National Guard. See, that's the other thing, people. Here, let me show you in case you have any questions about this. When he wanted to enforce it, perhaps the most famous case of presidential intervention to enforce a court order was in 1957 when President Dwight D. Eisenhower ordered the U.S. Army's 101st Airborne Division, the big guns, to Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. The state's governor at that time didn't want to let the black kids into the school. They didn't want to abide by what the Supreme Court said. You got to let the black kids in. Nah, I ain't gonna happen. Not here. All right. If you don't, this is what Eisenhower's going to do. Well, I wish he'd come down here. Okay, you sure about that, Bubba? And then Bubba found out. You can't put the military on the streets of America. Watch me. Dwight D. Eisenhower said, who happened to be a general in the Army anyway. So he knew, if I got to push this button, you're not going to like it. And Arkansas saw the United States Army rolling in the streets. So as you're hearing this now, you can go look it up yourself on fjc.gov. You now know, despite what the media says, despite what the liberal politicians are saying, he holds every single card on both sides. Either way, the Supreme Court rules, he can still do pretty much what he wants. Could they impeach him? Yeah, good luck with that. Could they impeach him if at the midterms it turns? Sure. But you're going to need 67 votes, I believe, to get, 66, 2/3. You're going to need 67 votes to get him out. So you're thinking, if President Trump goes against these judges, gets all these people out of here, that some way in 2026, people are going to be mad because the newcomers were rounded up. You're going to hang your hat on that and scream for the next 2 years? Good luck. Get a lot of plane tickets to El Salvador, get a whole bunch of tickets to Venezuela or wherever. You don't have an army. Remember when Joe Biden said, what are you going to have, some sort of militia? They don't have F-15s. Well, you're right. You're right. Neither do the Democrats. So right now, you may have some feelings on what's happening or what could happen. Now you know the actual truth. Look it up yourself, feel confident, and understand that whichever way it goes, and I'm not giving you any information that President Trump already doesn't know. I'm sure his people, his advisors have said to him what I'm telling you. Hey boss, either way, you're running this. If it's a judgment you don't like, go ahead and ignore it. They can't do anything about it. If it's judgment you like, but then the idiots go crazy and start burning, go ahead and roll the Humvees. Give Pete a call. He'd love to do it. You know he'd love to do it. So this could get absolutely crazy. Eisenhower and Kennedy did it. Maximus, yes, Wallace was, he's talking about the governor of Alabama. The press yelling does not show America in a good light. They should relish and respect the openness of the President of the United States and treat these opportunities with respect. Stand your ground, America. I think that's what I'm trying to bring about and talk to people about right now. You're going to have some people fray. Like, I don't know if this is right. I don't know if President Trump should do this because, he may piss them off, and they might. Hey, man, we got to do what we got to do. He's got to do it. At this point, he knows he has less than 2 years. Less than 2 years. He just told Glenn Beck, what do you want me to have, a million trials? You want me to go through all of this stuff and hope that the courts and the Senate and Congress 2 years from now, meanwhile these people all get to just stay in their country and tell America to go pound sand? I don't think so. I really don't think so. All right, see, Hans is logged in, so I'm going to take a break and we'll bring him in.
back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So I'm probably going to end up embarrassing myself right now trying to introduce Hans, because I'm going to try and pronounce his name correctly. So I'm going to let's call it Hans Mahncke, or Hans Mahncke. He's going to have to chastise me afterwards. The author of the book, Swift Boating America, Russiagate Fraud from the Steele Dossier to Crossfire Hurricane Investigation. Hans, how are you doing today? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Your mic's not on. You're not getting anything from your mic, brother. Not getting any sound at all. Sometimes this happens. Yeah, I'm not getting any level from you. I'm seeing like a little level, but you're not able to. Maybe test your mic and then we can come back in. But for some reason, I'm not getting any level on your microphone. Okay, looks like he's going to go out and come back in. Hopefully, when he comes back, we can hear him and hear him perfectly. So anyway, while we're waiting for Hans to reboot and come back in. Oh, he's back in. Hans, if you see me, I still can't see any level, so you're welcome to talk. And as soon as I hear something coming from you, I can put you on. But there's no sound at all. Not sure why. Hold on, try this. Nothing. Nope, I'm not getting anything from you. It's like your mic just is dead. All right, guys. Here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put on put something else on, so we can try and work out the sound. Let me put on my Be Right Back information here. Okay. So I can't get any level from you, Hans. It's like your microphone isn't even on. So maybe we may have to reschedule because it's flatline. There's no sound coming through whatsoever. Try one more thing. Try to log out and come back in and see if that works. Okay, and maybe hopefully it'll connect. All right, everybody. While Hans is doing that, let's go ahead and take some. There's always the cue card option. Maximus. Oh, wait. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay. All right. Not sure what that was, but I can definitely hear you now. There was a ghost in the machine.
I literally just pressed the reload button. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we can hear you now. All right. So first things first. How do you pronounce your last name so I can call you by your correct name? It's Hans or Hans. Please give me your name.
No, you were almost spot on. It's Mahncke.
Mahncke. Okay, great. Yeah. All right, so tell me about the book, because that's the first thing I want to talk about, and then I've got a whole bunch of things that we can discuss. You've been pretty prolific on X, and with some topics that we can discuss. Tell me about the book.
Sure. So the book is an attempt to kind of summarize all of Russiagate because, you just mentioned X and those who've been kind of following the whole story. That's where you got the real news from. That's where you found out what's really going on with Russiagate, over the past 8 years or so. And I always felt that all the books that are out there are mainly kind of institutional books, some so-called journalists writing a fake story about Russiagate or one of the people involved, like Peter Strzok or one of the Mueller attorneys or whatever. And I thought, no, we should get out a story of what really happened. And so it's sort of trying to memorialize the true story as told in thousands and thousands of X tweets.
What is the true story? It seems like, and I say that facetiously, I don't expect you to do that, but it seems like there's been so many books and so much has been written, and then nothing has happened. You see people right now who are complaining about Pam Bondi not getting anything done. Nobody's been arrested. So I'm not going to put you on the spot and try to predict the future. But what do you think happens? Well, I guess this is kind of a prediction. What happens if nobody gets held accountable for this? Or do you foresee people being held accountable?
No, I don't. I have to say, I think our last chance was John Durham, Special Counsel John Durham, who was specifically tasked with holding the people accountable, whom I talk about in my book, the people behind it all, the people who did this to President Trump, who did this to his team. And by the way, if you wanted to have a sort of a one-sentence summary of the book in terms of its conclusion, it's that the entire thing was made up. Everything, every last thing was made up. It wasn't one of those hoaxes where, there's a bit of truth to it, there's a kernel of truth here or there. No, the entire thing was made up both by the Hillary Clinton campaign and later by the government. And so, no, I don't think anyone is going to be held accountable for starters, because it's already past the 5-year deadline for bringing charges. The statute of limitations is 5 years. And there's just so much obstructionism. I mean, why John Durham got the task of doing exactly what we're talking about, hold the people accountable in the FBI, CIA, wherever you find them. And he didn't do anything. So there must be a reason why he didn't do anything. And my guess is the reason is that they just won't allow it. And by they, that's a whole another question. But it's sort of the larger bureaucracy, the intelligence community, people in government, all sorts of different forces, all don't want the truth to come out, and certainly not for anyone to be held accountable.
But the statute of limitations would be based upon a certain crime. There is one crime that has no statute of limitations. Would you foresee that be something that they could pursue? I'm talking about the T word.
Yes, right, the T word. Yeah, I mean, you could perhaps try and build something on that basis. I mean, there's certainly enough there to try and extrapolate and build a one thing upon another. The problem is that apart from it's going to be very difficult, just legally speaking, you didn't have to bring the crime or the charges in D.C. And, we know about D.C. juries and how that's going to work out. So, again, I hate to say this. There's nothing more than I want than for people like Peter Strzok and, all the others to be actually held accountable rather than having, gigs on MSNBC. But I just don't see it happening.
Now, the way they went after Trump, which is instead of doing it in Washington, they took it down to a state level, and in that state level, they did their charade in New York. Could it be where there could be some charges at a state level, or is the statute of limitations? I mean, they went back to years for that so-called election campaign finance thing with Stormy. So that statute of limitations had to have expired. How were they able to do that?
Well, even worse, they pretended the thing was had been stopped, so someone had pressed the pause button. Even worse is the one with Jean Carroll. You remember that woman who accused him of some kind of abuse in a department store 30 or 40 years ago or whatever. Now, for that one, they did something that, even sort of tin pot dictators don't do. You just don't do that anywhere in the world that I've seen, is they retroactively changed the law. So they went back in New York and changed the law specifically in order to get Donald Trump on something he did 30 years ago, where they said that the statute of limitations does not count in this case.
Right.
I mean, it's completely unheard of, but they actually did that. So, yeah, I guess, we could do that, but, do we want to do that? But I do think you bring up a really good point, which is you could bring charges elsewhere. One of the victims here, we haven't talked about yet, but your viewers will have heard of, is a former Trump advisor called Monica Paige. And they fraudulently got a warrant to spy on him. They had teams following him around. They searched his home. They searched his computer. They did the most horrendous things to this guy for an entire year. Just every aspect of his life, everything he did, everything he ate, every website he visited, everything was monitored by the government based on a total lie, which they knew to be a total lie. So Carter has been pursuing his own kind of civil cases in Oklahoma. And, you might think, well, why there? And, well, I think he's got a business out there. And basically, if you can trace some connections to wherever you bring the case, you say, well, people were affected in Oklahoma, or that, I had an office there, or, whatever. You can build something, but you got to think outside the box. And I don't get the feeling that these people are thinking outside the box, where, I haven't seen anything of that, any evidence whatsoever that someone is thinking, let's go to West Virginia and bring some of these cases because, people in West Virginia were defrauded or, whatever.
Thinking outside the box, I think some people, depending on who you ask, just want to see a box. Never mind, I'll think outside the box. Show us you're doing something in a box. So I'm not going to go and open that hornet's nest, but I noticed something that you had reposted. And President Trump is right there in the middle of it right now. Let me make sure this works. Yes, it does. All right. So you had reposted this about Ukraine. He just started talking right now in the Oval Office with the president of NATO, the prime minister of Norway, the big bomb that they dropped yesterday in Kiev. Where do you see this going? And I'm looking, every time the Trump administration suggests that Ukraine and Russia are getting close, Zelensky goes public with a statement that effectively scuttles any chance of a ceasefire, and Trump is pissed. I don't know who's pushing Zelensky, but from people you've talked to and what you've written, what's going on there?
I think you're absolutely right. It's not about him. It's who pushes his buttons, who controls, that puppet, who's behind him. It's probably not just one guy. There's probably more. It's first of all, to start off with, you're absolutely right. He sabotages things just always at the last minute. So he came to Washington to sign that minerals agreement, and then he had his big meltdown in the Oval Office. And then, of course, the whole thing, fell apart. Then, they were going to have, Russia put out some terms for peace, and then the Ukrainians were presented with that a few days ago. And so instead of, doing it behind the scenes or saying, well, we don't like this or that, how you normally do a negotiation, especially kind of in that diplomatic field, what does this guy do? He goes out to talk to, I think it was the Wall Street Journal or whatever, and say, no, we're never going to sign anything. We're never going to do anything, totally recalcitrant, petulant, just like a child, absolutely ridiculous. So not only what he says, like for instance, now he's saying Crimea is untouchable, all this ridiculous stuff. But so not only what he says, but also the way he says it, that he can't do it, in private, that he always has to cause this big scene. But so, yeah, I completely agree with that. So again, your next question is exactly right. So who's behind all this, right? So the guy who got this guy elected was a Ukrainian oligarch, one of those corrupt oligarchs called Kolomoisky. And in fact, I don't want to bore your viewers, but this goes back a long way.
This is new
Joe
stuff.
Biden
People don't talk about this. So yeah, please.
No, they don't. So Joe Biden basically saved. This guy owned a very big bank in Ukraine called Privatbank. And Joe Biden basically had that place nationalized just before Trump got in 2017, after Trump had already been elected, in order to, that bank was used to basically launder money and also to embezzle money from the IMF and so on. Joe Biden knew this is not good if all this stuff comes out, so he ordered the president of Ukraine, right before Trump comes in, like literally a couple of weeks before Trump is inaugurated in 2017, to shut that place down. Wow, you couldn't have had a more smoking gun than that. So anyway, that same guy, a couple of years later, shows up, the owner of the bank, and pays for Zelensky to get elected. That was all paid for by this guy, Kolomoisky. So you'd have thought, well, maybe he's the guy, pushing the buttons. But then they fell out, and now Zelensky's had him locked up. So he's not pushing the buttons right now. It's such a mess over there. It's so difficult to keep track of who's doing what. Then you've got the CIA. They've been building up infrastructure over there, bases and stuff over there for the past 11 years, which we also only found out about kind of recently. They probably don't want all this stuff to come out. You got a lot of different groups, a lot of different interests that want to perpetuate this whole thing. So they keep scuppering it, and they use Zelensky to scupper it. That said, I don't think Zelensky is sort of just a puppet. I think he actually also wants to scupper it. He also it's like him. He also wants the same things that these other people want. And it's completely intractable. That's ultimately that's the problem. You cannot get to any deal with these people in charge. How can you ever get anywhere if every time you go somewhere, immediately they blow the whole thing up?
Yeah. So you wrote to what you just said. I found this to be very interesting. You said there can't be a serious peace agreement while he's still in the picture. Well, where's he going? How is this guy going to be out of the picture in order for something to happen between Russia and Ukraine?
Let me walk through it. So when soon after Trump was inaugurated for a second term, he called on elections to be held over in Ukraine. Now, reading between the lines, it was obvious that what he was really saying is we need someone else in order to sort this problem out. And Zelensky's not going to get reelected, so let's have elections. Everyone agrees, right? No, everyone had a big media, big hysteria, a meltdown again, and so on. You can't have elections, my goodness. As if, other countries haven't had elections during wartime. Plus, it's not like war everywhere. It's war in certain areas, right? Anyway, so that didn't work. Then he came to the White House, and I thought at the time after that happened that everyone in Ukraine should be clear that it's not going to work out with this guy. You're not going to get anything with this guy in charge. You're going to have to replace him. And in fact, when the White House meltdown happened, there was talk in Ukraine of replacing him, but that's sort of been, superseded again, and now he sort of seems to be pretty much fully back in charge. Again, I think it has to do with what we just discussed a few moments ago as to who is really running the guy, who's really pulling the strings, who's in charge of this whole thing, because they're obviously happy to keep him where he is, and unless you get to those people, it's not going to happen. And unfortunately, I think at least part of those people are in the U.S. government, which kind of makes the whole thing even more messy and entangled.
Who's funding him now? If we're not funding him, unless we are, who's funding him?
Well, I'm sure there's still a lot of weapons and money being sent as we speak. I mean, that's sort of the next. The Europeans are as well. I mean, they're sending a lot of money as well. I think the leverage that President Trump has is to turn off the money spigot and turn off the weapons. To say, okay, no more. We can't deal with you. You don't want to make a deal. So we can't go on forever. We're going to turn that off. But I think that whoever's running this thing actually wants that to happen. Because once Trump turns it off, then we're straight back to where we were in 2019. Remember the giant, hysteria they had, impeachment number one, because Trump didn't want to send. It's not even that he didn't want to send weapons. All he did is he wanted to just ask a few questions before he sends weapons, and the weapons were sent anyway, and they were sent on time. And yet we got an impeachment out of that. We got a year's worth of drama out of that, and on and on and on. Now imagine Trump says tomorrow, no more weapons, no more intelligence, no more satellite data, no more money, no more anything. The meltdown will be...
They're done.
They're done, but will Trump be able to actually do that? Because you will have not only a meltdown in the media and Democrats, you'll have a lot of Republicans as well who will be up in arms about this. So it's easier said than done.
So, in changing gears here, and this was really interesting in terms of this whole Maryland man guy, you retweeted something, and I'm like, wait a second, nobody. I mean, this was yesterday morning at 11:18. I don't know if you've been able to verify this or not, and this could be something I'm sure people watching haven't heard, but Robert Gouvet, who's an attorney, does some good stuff. He says that a closer read of the judge's withholding of removal order shows it was for Guatemala, not El Salvador. If that's true, and he's showing the actual order, how did everybody miss that? I mean, everyone's been saying, oh, there's a withholding order. You can't send them to El Salvador. And we're looking at it, and it's like it's Guatemala. Is that really true?
Well, some people are pushing back and saying that's an error, that's a typo, whatever. I don't know which it is. You're absolutely right to point that out. And as to why it wasn't pointed out earlier, I don't know. And most of all, it's not even people like Robert or whatever, who it's not their job to point this out. Most of all, it should have been DOJ saying it. You know, the original error here in this whole thing was for DOJ to go to the court and say, oh, I'm so sorry, we shouldn't have never sent this guy back, it was our mistake. Never, ever admit a mistake, especially not in this kind of political environment, because as soon as you do that, they're just going to come and come and come, and it's never going to end. And that's exactly what we're seeing with this guy. What they should have done, irrespective of whether it should have been Guatemala or Venezuela or whatever, they should have said, well, the papers say this, so we're going to have to look into this. And until we do so and have a proper investigation and, you know, all of that, we're not going to admit anything. We're just going to have to look into it first. So they buy time, they stretch this whole thing out. You don't get the media hysteria and so on. So again, you can come up, even if it hadn't been that, you could have come up with some other reasons why sending him back was correct. You know, you had a different interpretation of the judge's order and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You can make it up, and in this case, you don't even have to make it up because, you know, as you just showed your viewers, it's right there in print. So you say that, and then the other side's going to say, no, the judge, that was a typo. Well, we can't just say it was a typo. We're going to investigate that. So then you buy time and on and on and on, and then you stretch it out, and in the end, you know, people forget about it. But this was such a stupid thing that DOJ did, and I have no idea who it was. Maybe it was just one of these line lawyers or whatever, to go in there on the day after it happened and say, oh, sorry, Judge, yeah, we made a mistake. You know, don't do that. Even if you made a mistake, don't say that.
No. Not at this level. I mean, because they're ready to pounce on any kind of mistake that President Trump's team will do. They're ready to pounce. So speaking about ready to pounce, I've got a hard stop here coming up. What's your thoughts on this whole thing with the Supreme Court having to review this information, where they're actually trying to deliberate and decide whether parents have the right to question what their kids are taught? You had posted or reposted what Mark Hemingway had posted. Weird how liberal judges never seem to apply logic to much more practical, non-compulsory services, such as what bakery you patronize. And so we saw what happened. You got to go ahead. You got to make the cake. You got to do this. But now we're actually, Ketanji Brown gets in there and says, you know, go take your kids to a different school. How idiotic is that?
It's totally idiotic. It's also hypocritical. In her case, I don't even know which one it is, because she might not even understand how dumb it is what she said there. She's just absolutely terrible. You know, one of these Biden judges. I think you're 100% right. I mean, there's almost nothing else that needs to be said. I mean, it's just beyond belief that a so-called liberal would say that, you know, parents just have to move to a new school district. I mean, isn't the whole liberal ethos that, you know, you have to look after people and accommodate people and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I think Mark made the point there in the tweet perfectly. But I think, you know, beyond that, the trouble is, you know, we're stuck with her, and we're going to be stuck with her for like 40 years or whatever. And so I think the pushback needs to be a lot stronger.
Yeah.
I think not only people on Twitter, but I think it would be good if the other justices made that clear in their judgments. I mean, that's probably going to come out 6-3 or whatever in favor of the parents. But I think it's important for people to point out, both in the sort of academic commentary, but also on Twitter we already have it, but also from the other justices, just to say how stupid that is. And they don't have to use the word stupid, but I think you need a bit of self-policing within the court, because you've got these justices there who are just so completely incompetent. And I know they're liberals and they're leftists and all that kind of stuff, but they're also super incompetent. We already saw that with COVID, where they just said the dumbest stuff, you know, that they'd heard on CNN and whatever. And I think it's so important in terms of those 9 people to police each other by writing down in their own judgments, hey, what Justice Brown said is really dumb. I mean, say it in a nice way, but do say it, you know.
Just say it just like that. I would be fine with that. So, speaking of justices, and this is the last question I have for you. there's including what I've seen today and I've talked about. And Glenn Beck went to the White House yesterday, and he did an interview with President Trump, and Mike Davis has talked about judicial insurrection. What would be, number one, do you believe, in terms of what you may have read, that President Trump could do like Andrew Jackson and completely not recognize the orders of the court, and then what would happen once that would occur?
I don't think he will. I don't think that's on the cards. I think there's a smart way of doing it. So ideally, the Supreme Court will come down and curtail these lower level judges and curtail their powers.
You think that's what's going to happen?
No, that's ideally.
Okay,
That's what happens.
Okay.
And specifically, that means telling the lower courts, for instance, that's not your wheelhouse. You're not allowed to do that. For instance, by saying you can't give these broad injunctions for the whole country. You can only do injunctions for the people in front of you, the people who brought the case, not like an entire class of people that you can kind of just made up. That would be one way of doing it. I think they might do it on a couple of these issues, like you can't do this or you can't do that, but I don't think they're going to just kind of curtail the lower courts in any meaningful way kind of across the board. So then, you get to Jackson and all that. What do you do with that? I think there's a smart way of doing it. The smart way of doing it, you got to always pretend you're following the court's orders. That's like number one.
You pretend. Okay. Continue. You said pretend. So what does that mean when you say pretend to be following a court order? Did I lose you? And I got to the punchline. I got to the punchline and he disappeared. Oh goodness. Got right to it. Got right to where it was, and he. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's what I wanted. What do you mean pretend? What do you mean pretend to follow the court order? Oh my God, I would have loved to heard what that answer was going to be. All right, so next up, which may be what happened, Monica may have bounced him out, but Monica Paige is up, coming up in like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm so sorry we didn't get the end of that question. I'll be right back. Oh, by the way, do I have him sitting here in front of me? I don't know if you guys have been following what's been going on with the gold market. Gold is soaring at this point. So it's possible, if you can, the economy, something's happening. We're going to talk about that after Monica, but I want you to hear about what we have from Lear Capital. We're in a very volatile time right now. There's plenty of financial uncertainty. Now is not the time to be speculative. And I'm also speaking from a personal perspective. I'm buying income-producing real estate, and I'm buying gold and silver. A lot of people don't know the difference between the economy and the stock market. And too many people listen to the news and social media. That'll get you in trouble. Let's face it. It's obvious that a lot of people have an agenda they're not telling you about. Right now, your best bet is stability. And that means you might need to build a hedge against global volatility. May I recommend gold and silver to you? Real gold and real silver, not paper, not certificates, actual gold and silver. What gold and silver can give you is absolute peace of mind. A stock is only as good as the company behind it. It's merely a piece of paper. One of the things I can tell you is that many people are finding out the hard way that some of their investments were built on quicksand. Gold will never be worth zero. Silver will never be worth zero. If you want to calm some of your fears, give my friends at Lear Capital a call today at 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. Just so you know, Lear Capital has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and over $5 billion in trusted transactions. And Lear is the only gold company with a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. So go to learberry.com. If you want peace of mind, give my friends at Lear Capital a call at 800-601-5430. Or look down here below and go to learberry.com. And don't forget to ask about getting up to $15,000 in free gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. Don't wait. Do it now. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. Be safe. I just want to say thank you to the fanfare community. And if you're new here, I'd like to take a moment and welcome you. If you watch my videos, you've probably realized at this point that this isn't your usual podcast. The difference is that every single day, I try to make this show an open conversation amongst friends. You see, I believe that speaking to friends, here and in your own circle offline, is the best way to push back against all the lies being told by the Democrats and the media. I encourage people in this community to welcome each other, and in doing so become a source of support for those seeking to unplug from the matrix. If you'd like to communicate on a deeper level, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, but if you'd really like to surround yourself with like-minded patriots, join our free and private X group by going to fanfareshop.org/group. When you join this free group, a few things will happen. One, if you haven't used X before, you can use X without venturing into the sewer that it sometimes can be. Two, you can share content with friends that you meet here. 3, you will get notified every time I go live, so you can't count on YouTube notifications. And 4, and this might be most important, you get content that I can't share on YouTube or Rumble. So please take a moment and join our free and private X group. Just go to fanfareshop.org/group. Remember, it's members only. There are 16,000 plus people in that group right now, getting close to 17,000. To join our free and private members only X group, just go to fanfareshop.org/group. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, everybody, I've got Monica Paige in the bullpen here. Those of you guys who know Monica, and if you don't know Monica, you can follow her at Monica Paige TV on X. Let me just tell you something that Monica does every single morning. She posts President Trump's schedule every single morning. A lot of times that's where I find out what's going on. So if you want to make sure that's your first check in the morning, it's awesome. You can see here today's schedule: 12 o'clock, President Trump greets the PM of Norway. 4:30, signs executive orders. So it looks like he's going to be signing executive orders. We'll probably have that in the night show. And then tonight at 7:30, President Trump participates in a MAGA dinner at the Trump National Golf Club. Without further ado, hello, Monica. How are you?
Hi, guys. I miss coming on. You have the best community here, Barry. So I'm excited to be back with you.
Thank you. And before I say even one thing, I have to be I'm not going to be the first, obviously. Congratulations! Congratulations! For those of you who don't know and haven't been following along, Monica got married. How long ago was it?
Well, we're getting married May 10th, but we have been engaged. Yes, we are engaged. We got engaged December 14th. So President Trump offered his words of advice before the big day, as you've probably seen.
Yeah, you made the Daily Mail over in England. I'm like, and then I'm looking at the article, right, and I'm going through it online, and I'm like, who's this woman? I don't know anybody named Monica Luisi. So is Paige your middle name, or is that your stage name? Okay.
Yeah, Paige is my middle name. Yeah, nobody can pronounce my middle name on the first go, so props to you, Barry. You got it on the very first try. It's 5 letters, nobody gets it right. So I'm like, you know what, we're going to go by Monica Paige. And plus, I'm changing my last name anyway, so we go by my first and middle name.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're going to stay there for a couple more weeks, and then you guys are off on it. Where are you going on your honeymoon? Are you going to have a working honeymoon?
No working honeymoon. We finally taking days off. We're going to go to Costa Rica.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And your husband to be, he's also a reporter too, isn't he?
Yes. He is at One America News. Daniel Baldwin. He's the best in the business. He was covering President Trump's campaign for the past 3.5 years. So he has very well deserved this spot here at the White House.
Oh, very awesome. We're so happy for you, and I'm sure a bunch of people are going to be hitting you up on X right now going, oh, so happy for you. And we'll make sure I'll get with Ashley. She's leaving tonight on vacation to the Dominican Republic. As soon as she gets back, we'll make sure we get you a nice big fanfare basket or something so you have it when you guys get back.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
You've been so great to us. So let me ask you a couple of questions. First of all, he's been just a flurry of executive orders, and I guess at 4:30 he's going to sign some more. They don't tell you in advance what the executive orders are, I don't think. But one of the things I've noticed is we've been covering Caroline Leavitt's press conferences on Tuesday. They've got very short, not a whole lot of people asking questions. What's happened? Are they realizing now that the president himself is so transparent and that he's out there all the time that they'll just wait until he pops up? Or is it that she's so good that they can't even confront her?
Well, it's a mix of both, Barry, definitely for sure, because some of the reporters ask the questions, they're asking the same question in a bunch of different ways, and there's only so much that Caroline can speak to. So, she kind of diverts it to, well, you're going to hear from the president later this afternoon. He could speak for himself, which I think is even better than hearing from the press secretary. I mean, it's great we hear from her on a daily basis. Sometimes we hear from her twice in one day. Sometimes we'll be out here on Pebble Beach, as they call it, and she'll come walking down here, and all of a sudden we're getting a press gaggle, which I think is fantastic. Sometimes she'll allude to even more information that we get in the press briefing, or she'll hint at something for later in the day. But I think letting the president speak for himself is extremely valuable. And what was really crazy, Barry, was yesterday I was just doing my hit on the North Lawn or something, and all of a sudden everyone comes running, hysterical, running towards the front gate here at the White House, and you see President Trump and a bunch of park rangers and some Secret Service guys. He's looking at putting in a flagpole randomly. This wasn't on the schedule. This is a typical day in the life here. Anything can happen. He wants to put a big, beautiful 100-foot tall flagpole in the front and back of the White House.
Wow.
And he's looking at great spots, great real estate for putting this flagpole. So we're shouting questions at him. He's like, I'm putting in a flagpole. He's shouting from all the way across the lawn. And then all of a sudden, he goes to the palm room doors, which he comes down right where I'm pointing here. He walks down a set of stairs, and that's where the press can kind of go. It's a little bit beyond the press briefing room entrance, and he just starts talking to the press. And what's so funny is the dynamic, because you see the mainstream media running at high speeds to go chase down the president, but they're so quick to lie about all the accomplishments that he's doing at one of their tents. So from the tents, they're so quick to say, Abrego Garcia, such a poor Maryland man, this Trump administration is evil. But then when he's accessible, they run. They can't get enough of President Trump. So I think it's very funny from an outside perspective.
And from this perspective too, I mean, so I don't know who it was that was filming it, but it was just so funny watching them all run, and then they go there and they ask the same questions they asked on Tuesday. And then today they ask the same questions they asked yesterday. Why is it that they don't dig it? Is there nothing to ask or questions they don't want the answer to? I mean, Reagan asked a good one. I don't know if you were in there on Tuesday, but it seems like they don't want to ask the right questions. Why is that?
They know that the news of the day, or what's newsy, or what's maybe unpopular, won't get them the ratings that they're hoping for. Because when you think about who's asking those kinds of questions, take a look at their ratings. You got CNN, MSNBC. Take a look at their viewer base. Their viewer base still thinks that January 6th was worse than 9/11 or worse than Pearl Harbor. These are who they're dealing with. And that's why I love Reagan, and I appreciate her hard work so much. I love, Brian Glenn from Real America's Voice, OAN, like myself. We're asking the real questions that people care about, that people want to know. When are we getting the Epstein list? Are we getting the files on the JFK assassination? These are things that everyday people care about. What is the White House doing to make sure that I can afford a home in the next 2 years? Things like that. And I think that the American people appreciate those kinds of questions. And our viewer base for Turning Point is younger kids. You got college-age kids, defunding Harvard. What schools are next on the chopping block? What's behind this decision? These student visas. We'd love to know more about what's happening there. And I'm very in tune with what our viewers like. These mainstream media outlets need to salvage whatever's left of their dying base. I mean, the TV it's dying, essentially. And people are looking towards more like your platform and your
Yeah.
base, looking towards more streaming. They love the Joe Rogan and the Megyn Kelly, and that's so important. And and you can tell what kind of outlet that you're tuning into based on the kinds of questions their correspondent asks, and that's all you really need to know.
Yeah. Now, as Pebble Beach, as you call it, are those planned, or they just show up and start walking down the hill, and you guys, whatever you're doing, like right now, you're talking to me. Could Caroline Leavitt conceivably just walk down the hill, or Stephen Miller or somebody?
Yep.
Really? So they're not planned. They just come out.
So they'll have a planned hit, whether it's on Fox or CNN. They'll be set on the schedule to go on that show. We won't know that, but you will start to see a crowd outside the Oval Office down here, and they have like a podium set up and a microphone and all the cameras set up, so they're ready for whoever decides to come out that day or that afternoon. And I'll start to see them start walking with a couple of press people, and we're like, okay, let's go run and let's go get a good soundbite, or let's go try and ask a question. And that's when we'll get there, set up our phones, and try and ask a question. But it's completely unplanned. Anything can happen. Sometimes we'll see Tom Homan come by. We'll see Caroline come by. Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's always something happening here, which is such a difference from the previous administration. We would never seen Karine Jean-Pierre come out here. She maybe come out here once since I've been here, but we never saw cabinet members or admin officials. So it's really, really cool.
Have you heard? Yes, it is, and I would absolutely love it if all of a sudden you like, I gotta go. You had to run. But have you heard what happened with Kristi Noem's pocketbook theft? I mean, it was just so weird. I mean, she's sitting at dinner and somebody runs up and just steals her pocketbook. Where was the Secret Service? How did that even happen? Have you heard any information on that?
Yeah, I mean, you're asking all the right questions, because as soon as I heard about this, I had to know, where was the DC restaurant? Why wasn't she with their security? Why was she kind of leaving her bag sort of out where something could have happened to it? But it's so crazy, because this is what DC is, unfortunately, is that you never know who you're going to run into or what you're going to run into. And that's what President Trump is trying to do, is make DC beautiful and safe again, because whatever happened over the last 4 years made this place not the safest. There are plenty of little pockets of DC that are not the best areas. And I'm surprised that maybe happened in a nicer area. I'm assuming that Kristi Noem would go out to a nice area to have dinner with her family or friends. So this caught a lot of us by surprise. I think we're still trying to look into it. We haven't heard anything from the White House regarding this situation, which is also kind of surprising. I was kind of expecting to maybe see her during the Media Row event that was happening today at the White House, but we didn't. So this is still very much a developing issue, I think.
All right, tell me about that, because as I'm looking on your page here, where was that? You've got it. Hopefully this works here. Yeah, you've got a picture here.
I know her.
Welcome to White House Media Row, celebrating President Trump's 100 days. What was that, and what happened there?
Oh, that was so fun. So that was a really great opportunity where we were invited to go to the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is that big, beautiful building right next to the White House. If you're looking at the White House, it's to the right-hand side, and that's where all the executive offices are. So we were actually in the Indian Treaty Room, which is on the smaller side, I'd say. A lot of these offices are very old and are very historic, and they're very beautiful with the architecture. And we were able to set up a camera and lights and a microphone on behalf of Frontlines and Turning Point, and interview cabinet officials, admin members, or executives, and just really the brains behind all the successes that we've seen in the executive orders in the first 100 days of President Trump's presidency. So I spoke with May Mailman. She's the senior policy advisor. I spoke with Kalen Dorr. He's the deputy comms director. I also spoke with a deputy of the U.S. Immigration, ICE. His name is Ron Vitello. I got to speak with him about the efforts of this administration in the mass deportations and keeping our communities safe, and these sanctuary jurisdictions as well, where they're apprehending thousands of illegal aliens and keeping the border crossings at record lows. And it was really interesting. I specifically really loved hearing from May Mailman. Many people may not really remember her or recognize or see her all that often, but she is definitely such a powerhouse in the Trump administration. She's huge on women's issues and IVF and those decisions, and the $5,000 baby bonus that this administration is considering granting to new mothers. So she was very interesting interesting to talk to. And she's also a Harvard graduate, so definitely asking her about defunding Harvard was something that I had to ask. And she's very disappointed in the route that they took and the DEI practices, et cetera. And hearing from her directly, especially since she has two young girls of her own, keeping men out of women's sports and making sure that girls grow up with equal opportunity. It was a powerful interview, and I'm excited to bring that to you guys once it's fully edited and brought on social media. But definitely an incredible opportunity, and we're hoping that we get more in the future.
So oh, that's my dog. Speaking about in the future, you've got maybe two big events for you. You got one coming up early next week with Scott Besson at TPUSA. What is that going to be all about?
Well, I believe he's teaming up with Charlie Kirk and speaking to the younger generation, and he has already teased ahead and highlighting the importance of financial literacy and why it's important for the younger generation to start getting involved, and why this administration is kind of making it easy for younger generations to get involved. And I think that's what Charlie Kirk's message is, even when he goes to college campuses throughout the entire country. I believe he'll be on the West Coast next week, and just highlighting, the importance of getting involved, and this administration showing that anyone can really keep up and speak for themselves, and it you can still be kind but also be brave to stand up for your values and what you find is an important aspect of your life, and it's important to encourage others to get on board too.
Will you be there?
Because the fight's not over.
Will you be there?
It's not over.
Will you be doing a report from there, or you're not going to be at the event?
So I will not be. Next week, I think, is very busy. I'm trying to think because I'm already thinking ahead of what I have to do. So President Trump next week is hitting his 100-day big celebration. He will actually be in Macomb County, Michigan, and I believe I'll be flying out to Michigan next week. So we could probably do a report for you guys from there. Absolutely.
Very nice.
It's going to be very rainy. I already looked ahead at the weather, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. Got to bring an umbrella.
Is it out?
So it's going to be.
Is it outdoors or inside of an arena?
I'm hoping it's not.
All right.
I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't think we know the logistics just yet and what time it's going to be at. That's another thing we're trying to look into. But I believe we'll be flying out Tuesday or Monday evening. I think it's going to happen next Tuesday, and then flying back on Wednesday. And then I'm actually flying back out to California to Turning Point's Investor Summit in Coronado. So I'm going to have to do that May 1st to the 4th. And then it's just a big sprint. Yeah, I know. So it's going to be very busy next week. But yes, the 100th day is a huge celebration that I think the White House is planning.
Why did he choose Michigan of all the places to celebrate his 100th day? What is it about Michigan do you have any idea why he chose that area?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. President Trump won Macomb County, Michigan by 13 points in November, and it's home to a lot of Reagan Democrats. There's a lot of working class people over there. Michigan was definitely a very consequential state to win for his election, and I think it has a very close place in his heart, along with Wisconsin and some of the other major swing states. Michigan also has a very large Muslim community over there as well. But like I previously mentioned, this is kind of just the beginning, and we're already sort of seeing the fight around midterms. I know the Democrats are really making a great effort in what they're doing to support illegal immigration, and that's a great commercial for Republicans for the midterms as well. So I know that, like I said, the fight's far from over, and the fight still is continuing, because you got to think ahead. You got to keep thinking about the midterms. You got to keep thinking about 2028, which kind of makes me crazy because we literally just won this election and we just got here. We just hit 100 days. But what I really want to hear from the president around this time is, how does this 100 days compare to his first 100 days back in 2016? I think that could be a very stark difference that people could maybe compare and contrast.
Well, I'll definitely be covering it because I think it's going to be awesome. He'll probably have the guy singing, and one of the guys, maybe the opera guy, will go as well. So before you go, I do have a question. What is going on tonight? What is number one, are you going? And what is the MAGA dinner? I've never heard that before.
I wish I could go. I'm not in the pool today. But I'm assuming it's a large number of donors and supporters of the president gathering at his golf club tonight. doing what they do best. I guess whatever he does in Mar-a-Lago on the weekends, I'm assuming is what's going to be happening tonight. Just a gathering of those supporters and those who donate to the campaign, etc. So I'm assuming it's going to be very low key. He'll be doing that around 7:30 p.m. and then he's going to come back to the White House actually pretty late tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then tomorrow he is heading off to Rome for the Pope's funeral. He's actually spending a short amount of time there. He's leaving tomorrow morning. Don't know what time just yet, but then he'll be flying back to the White House. I believe Saturday, or he might stop at Mar-a-Lago first, afterwards, before he gets back to the White House. So he'll be doing a lot of traveling, and you got to take into account they're 7 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
I think about that flight there and back. So yeah, I don't know where he finds time to sleep. Honestly,
But let's be honest. He is flying on the most probably comfortable jet ever known to man.
That is true.
Yeah, he can go back and lay down and do whatever he wants. Sit there, watch television, eat a hamburger, whatever. All right. Well, Monica, we're going to be looking for you over the next couple of days to see what happens. Thank you for taking the time once again. Again, congratulations. Hope you and Daniel have a very happy marriage and your wedding goes great. I can't imagine you're probably planning it and your parents are probably planning it. And where are you getting married?
Actually, we're kind of splitting the time here in the city of DC and Virginia. So half of it will be here and half of it will be in Virginia. But I don't know how the hell I found time to plan it, but we did it and it's going to be beautiful. And I'm hoping I get to speak with you at least one more time before we head off to the honeymoon and for the wedding. So I appreciate always coming on, and I love the community, and I want to thank you so much again for your support.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Thank you very much, Monica. I know you got to get ready for the 4:30 executive. Are you going over for the 4:30 executive order signing?
I'm hoping, as long as everything's running on time, I'm hoping that we're good to go. Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. Go ahead. And I know you got stuff to do. Thank you very much for stopping by again.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, you guys. That was, as you know, Monica Paige. Love having her on. You guys go ahead and shower her with congratulations and everything about being married. What did she say it was? May 10th or so? And yeah, she made the Daily Mail in England had actually wrote an article about her and President Trump giving her marriage advice. She should have recorded that, or he should have recorded that. That was very interesting. All right, so I'm going to take a 90-second break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to close with another video I have for you.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So I was telling you guys earlier about how these judges were going crazy. We just had another one. While I was talking to Monica and Hans, another one decides they want to chime in and give us crap. Judge temporarily blocks Trump's DEI funding cut in schools. U.S. District Judge Lanya McCafferty in New Hampshire has issued a temporary injunction blocking the Trump administration policy that was going to cut federal funding from K-12 public schools that are doing DEI programs. The judge's decision was based on arguments that the policy might infringe on free speech rights and could be, maybe, I don't know, could be unconstitutional. This ruling has sparked diverse reactions, with some seeing it as a defense of educational inclusivity, while others view it as judicial overreach. And here's a picture of the judge, and she plays on that team. Breaking, Judge Lanya McCafferty, appointed by Obama. And, I'm not going to say anything. Don't want to get myself in trouble, but OMG, is this stuff going to end? Is it going to end? And it's funny, right away, a federal judge has halted President Trump's executive order. It's time we ignore all judges. It's getting bad. It's like everything. I don't know if there's one that they've allowed to stand. I'm trying to think which one they've said, oh, that one's okay. Nope. All of them. Let's go ahead and put an injunction on everything this man does. Every single one. I don't know. I mean, you guys heard the earlier part of the show when I was talking about Andrew Jackson and what needs to happen. It's absolutely crazy at this point. What else is he supposed to do? How else is he supposed to govern as a president when every single objective, every single initiative that he wants to put forth, they're like, no, you can't do it. Yeah, you're enjoying. You're going to TRO. No, you can't do it. Everything. Every single thing. Not a few, all of them. And now you're telling me every person who gets deported, oh, you can't deport them. They need a hearing. Oh, a million of them? Yeah, it might take you 20 years. Can't happen, people. It can't happen. At this point, At this point, there's Maximus. At this point, they themselves have made a mockery of the judicial system. And so, if I had said what I said earlier a month ago about, hey, go nuclear and just do what you got to do, even Robin would have said, no, we're not there yet. But now, a month later, and we're seeing how these people literally, it happens out by the hour. Another judge, boom, no, you can't do it. So they're forcing his hand. They're forcing your hand. You are going to have to make a choice. You are going to have, because we asked Hans and he got to the payoff and he got disconnected. But what are we supposed to do? Well, we're supposed to support President Trump, but this is beyond ludicrous. It's like Melissa says, it's a banana republic. I do believe it's time to ignore them. We didn't elect them, we elected Trump. So this is what you guys have to begin thinking about right now, and with the different people that you'll be talking to, and what you guys think other people should know at this point, because it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier by the day, by the hour almost. There's nothing that they're allowing this man to do. Nothing. They completely want to put his hands behind his back. They couldn't put him in jail, so they basically want to lock him in the White House. It's absurd. It's completely absurd. They want to make him look like a deep dictator. That's his goal. Yeah. Where's this one? Where do they get this judge's back of Mad Magazine? Good point. This is insane. Talk about evil forces coming right at you. Fazul, I've made my choice. Go Trump. There has to be a way for citizens to remove corrupt judges. Voting. Seems very scripted. An op geared solely at slowing at all costs Trump's agenda. Oh, it's very scripted. They know they're done. And so now all they can do is muck up the water. The judges are trying to make our vote mute. Absolutely. Let's see. So at this point, you got to educate everybody because this can't happen, man. This is insane. So I'm going to show you something else that's insane before we close. This whole student loan thing. And I've got a collection of cuts here. Remember, these are people who are supposedly going to places of higher education. These are people who are supposed to eventually lead this country, be running businesses and all kinds of things, teaching your kids. And what you're going to hear is a collection of OMG. I cannot even fathom that these people are who we expect to be our future. So, without further ado, get some of this.
Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections. The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers, tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages.
We have almost $1.7 trillion in student debt, and none of the collections have been made since March of 2020. So it's time to have people be accountable again for their debts, but we're not trying to make it difficult for anyone. So there are many options that those who have outstanding loans can go to. They should go to studentaid.gov to find out. We have longer hours for them to call to find out if they have other options. We have actually an AI, Aiden, that can answer questions for them. So we're trying to put lots of plans in place so that people who do have loans outstanding can bring themselves up to date. We have over 5 million people that are in default. And that means their credit scores are affected. If they want to buy a home or buy a car, it's very difficult for them. So we'd like to help them get out of default, but at the same time, this is something they owe. This is money they borrowed to go to school, and other taxpayers shouldn't have to pay this burden. I think that's very clear.
5 million borrowers, 5 million students owe $1.7 trillion. What? Just money we just gave away. Just disappeared. $1.7 trillion. Gone. And now President Trump has said, yeah, you got to pay up, okay? I know it's been nice, but now you got to pay up. And just like any petulant child, anyone, you've had babies and grandkids or kids, and once you take the rattle away, that's exactly what these people are doing. The rattle has been taken away. They have to, you can't have your whoopee. You can't do that anymore. You got to be a big girl, big boy. But it's interesting. All the videos I keep seeing on X are girls, women, freaking out. Like, oh my God, you mean I have to actually pay a bill? Yeah, welcome to adulthood. Welcome to the real world, where everything's just not given to you. There's no participation trophies. You got to earn it every single day. And by the way, you borrowed this money. Nobody made you sign your name on this dotted line, but you did. And then, of course, it was your choice to go to some school that couldn't teach you anything so that you could pay back these loans. So that, to me, that's almost criminal. Remember back during the foreclosure crisis, and the Democrats kept saying predatory loans. They kept blaming the banks for the loans that were given to people who couldn't pay. And they made a bet. That's how I did very well during that time, because the banks would call me, hey, you want to buy this house? Sure. It was predatory lending time. These banks took advantage of these borrowers. How do you take advantage of a borrower? unless you're putting a gun to somebody's head and sign this paper, which it never happened. And then they said, well, you were giving loans to people you knew couldn't afford them. That's because Obama had come out and said if you could fog a mirror, you should be able to buy a house. So the banks were merely doing what Obama told them to do. But now the schools are scot-free. You should have some sort of ramification if you have a student going to your school who's taken out a loan, who can't read, can't talk, can't do anything functionally once they get beyond their 4 years to do anything. They can't pay it back because they haven't learned anything. And the school's like, I don't care, not our problem. It's your problem. You absorb this. Why aren't the schools absorbing this? Why are we not going back to Harvard and saying every single one of these people who cannot pay their student loan, we're coming to you? Make them more accountable. Have more responsibility. Meanwhile, you've got these people.
This is a PSA for everybody who has not been paying back their student loans. Maybe like me, I don't know, in the last year or two. My credit score just went down 184 points. What are we doing? What the do I do now?
Hey, Maggie, I'm going to need you to keep...
Since you asked, the answer to your question is, what the F do you do now? Start paying your bills, because if you start paying that bill, guess what? That credit score will go up. But because you've defaulted on this loan and you haven't done anything about it, your credit score goes down. That's kind of how it works. You owe people money, you don't pay them, you get dinged. They didn't teach you that in college? When you signed up for this thing called a LOAN, loan, they didn't say you have to pay us back. They didn't say here's a coupon book, pay us back. See, a lot of people who didn't take out student loans probably don't know is you don't pay back the loan while you're still in school, excuse me. So you knew it was coming. Again, I'll use my hurricane reference of living here in Florida. You know when you get out of school, there's a storm out there. It's not sneaking up on you. Hey, listen. Hey, Shirley, yeah. So we're going to give you this loan to go to college so you can actually learn something. And just to let you know, burning up Teslas and screaming BLM isn't going to help you. So when you get out of school, you're done with basket weaving and everything else, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have to pay this back. It didn't sneak up on you. You had 4 years. 4 years to see that storm in the ocean, and now you're screwed. And you want to blame us? Okay, here's another one.
That same energy that you have for student loan borrowers, for people like Donald Trump, who filed for bankruptcy 6 different times, despite being a billionaire, couldn't afford to pay their debt.
I'm sorry, honey. Show me any document anywhere where Donald Trump, the person, filed for bankruptcy. I challenge you. See, that's an old trope. The Democrats say, oh, he's filed for bankruptcy. He had businesses that he filed bankruptcy. He never filed personally. Never. His credit wasn't impugned. Ever.
Keep that same energy for the PPP loan borrowers, the mega millionaires, billionaires, and corporate giants who constantly get bailed out by our government on our tax-paying dime and dollar and don't end up paying those loans back. Keep that same energy for those people.
So I'm sorry, but you're not employing 100,000 people. You're not doing anything. And if people took out PP loans and they did it fraudulently, guess what? They didn't get a default notice. They got people knocking on the door. So what you're seeing, and you're going to see this trend here, are these kids that went to college and got stupid. And then you're thinking, how did these people ever get loans? They can't even talk. A couple times you're going to hear things go silent because I didn't even bother with all the expletive beeps. I just deleted it when they said the F word. And there's a whole lot of F words. So if you see something like that, that means I had to delete it. I just cut it out because these people are nuts. I wouldn't want them watching Midas. They don't seem like they have the intellectual capacity to do anything but flip burgers or work the fryer later. That's it.
Student loan thing is not going to work out how Trump thinks it is. It's going to end in a class action lawsuit with him losing. You can't just take a loan and change the inner workings of it and put it right back on the person and say, okay, now you owe 5 times as much as what you signed up for.
Honey, can I explain to you what interest is? Can I explain the whole concept of late fees and interest? So if you take out a loan for $10,000, just let's say 10, and you graduate or somehow get out of school, and then you don't pay that loan for like 5 years, you're like, I'm not paying it. I'm just not even going to pay it. Well, this thing, it just doesn't go away. It's still there. Just imagine this. Imagine that you take a ride in New York City, you get in a taxi, and you get out of the taxi, but the taxi driver's still there. And you're out running around Macy's, the meter's still running, honey. And then when you get back and look at the taxi cab, he's like, yeah, you owe me like $600. I've been sitting here for 2 days. Well, that's called interest. That's called more compound interest. You may have thought you took out a $10,000 loan or whatever the number is, and now you're looking at this and like, what do you mean I owe you $40,000? That's called interest. Buy a house, buy a car, look at an amortization table, understand you're not paying back the loan, you're paying back the interest, the principal all together. You just don't get a free ride. You don't take out $10,000 today and think you can pay $10,000 back in 6 years. What are you, stupid?
That's not how it works. That's illegal. It's going to end with a big win for all the borrowers because those student loans are going to end up being forgiven because he's taking illegal activity on them.
Collection is now illegal. That's how these people think. He's taking illegal activity on them. You mean, number one, the illegal activity was somebody stopping it. You can't get away from the fact you owe the money, right, honey? Yeah. Well, what part of collecting is illegal? What are you going to do? Have a class action lawsuit that says what? Well, we're suing Trump because he's making us pay back a loan that we freely took. Yeah, good luck with that.
Feel free to come in my comments and tell me I'm wrong since none of you have student loans because none of you went to college. Y'all, they...
Oh, I heard that one. I'm like, what? Because none of y'all went to college. Really? Boy, some of these people, this thing called life is just like really screwing up their heads. Big time. Oh, this one's funny too.
To garnish our wages. They really know how to just ruin your day. The U.S. government hates everybody here. Y'all, as of May 5th, they're taking 15% of your wages towards student loans. Y'all, I've been ignoring student loans since I've been in school.
Oh, stop. Oh, y'all are taking 15% of your wages to pay back student loans. I've been ignoring student loans for what? You said that back to back in 2 sentences. You just told America, you put a camera in front of your face and say, I can't believe you're charging me 15% of my wages. I've been ignoring student loans since I've... I say, wait till I show people this. Wait till I put these things together and people are like, Barry, no, there's no way. There's no way you found these things. Oh, yeah.
If y'all know how much I owe in student loan, y'all would think I went to school to be a lawyer. And it's a degree that wasn't even providing me a decent lifestyle. I was just living.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, You have to, at this point, sit back and go, oh, man. Oh, come with the comet. Blow the trumpet. These kids can't survive. Done. They cannot survive. Please don't breed. I went to college. I didn't get nothing. The school I went to didn't teach me nothing. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you should be bitching at them. You signed a loan for however how much to go to a school that didn't teach you anything functional that you could use to pay back the loan. But somehow it's the government's fault.
Off vibes. So you mean to tell me I went to school and y'all lied to me? Y'all wanted me to go out there and do triple the work to get a degree. Y'all, I owe so much money. I'm in Texas, so we don't have state tax. 15%. Oh, you might as well go ahead and add 5 more.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at someone's unfortunate position, but they put this on themselves. If she just watched her own video, she could just say, so I made a lot of wrong life choices. I've made so many bad life choices. And now they're knocking on the door saying, pay me. And you're mad.
10. Because that's the state tax. I cannot believe this. I just had to pull over, y'all. My head started throbbing. I'm about to get a headache. They're doing this in a couple of weeks, y'all. I gotta go do deferment. I gotta go do something. Y'all, we can't get away from this. People are even already saying that their credit score has dropped from a 700 something to a 500 something. Oh my gosh, my credit score. 15%, whether you have it or not, as of May 5th. So long as you have money in your bank account, they are taking it. In fact,
that's how this works, honey. You got money in your bank account, they're going to take it. You mean the money you owe them? Just be happy it's not like Musaraco because you wouldn't be driving. Which, by the way, somehow you're driving. And you're talking on a phone that probably cost you $1,000. Priorities, honey. Priorities.
Financial aid just called me the other day and I hung up on them. Not in the mood. Don't have it.
Kids have no parents. And they called me up, I hung up on them. That's not what you should be doing. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, LaQuisha? Yeah, click. No. Yes, sir, yes. Is there anything I can work out with you? Can I give you 100 a week? Or can I do this? Can you try negotiating? It's a debt. You're going to hang up on him? Okay, watch what I can do.
Living off life. I'm vibing. This man really said, you know what? Let's make the rich richer. Let's make the others poor. You
oh gosh. Oh, that's great. This is comedy. I should put this on a roll because it's just like, this is. Somebody should put this together and make like a 2-hour movie. I would buy tickets and go eat popcorn and laugh. Now this one here, she one of them smart ones. She gonna tell you what it's really about, okay? Just so you need some education. She about to tell you how it really is. She gonna take a pencil because she gonna educate you.
Keep saying, why should my tax dollars pay for other people's student loans? One, go f*** yourself. If your tax dollars did pay for student loans, it's because you're investing in society as a whole. A rising tide lifts all boats. The smarter that people are, the better off all of us are. But second, your tax dollars aren't paying for student loans. Our country makes billions of dollars from the interest of these student loans.
Who wants to tell her? Okay, honey, it's how it works. You don't make any interest if the people aren't paying. If people aren't paying, there's no interest to collect. Oh my God, this was predatory lending. This was the best example of predatory lending I've ever seen. These people got loans and had no business getting loans. I don't know how they even wake up in the morning. They're completely clueless. And as you're watching this, these are all people who went to college. So many of you who never went to college, who lived your life, maybe you went to trade school, maybe you just didn't go to school, but you opened a business or you worked in a business. These people paid a lot of money to be 4 years later more stupid than when they started the college experience. And she's telling you how, economics works. You don't pay it, the interest pays it. What about the interest that's not collected? Oh. Yeah, okay.
Our country profits from student loans. So your tax dollars aren't paying for people's student loan interest forgiveness. If anything, sorry, but the country is not making a profit off the backs of people that needed to take out student loans to better themselves in life. I'm so sick of Republican viewpoint of, I don't want my tax dollars to pay for blah, blah, blah. What do you want tax dollars to pay for? You live in a society that offers you services. The government is not a business, it's a service. You literally take advantage of things all day that tax dollars pay for.
I didn't make this up. I just wanted to show y'all. How do you know what real estate taxes are? Okay. You know what sales taxes are? You know what income taxes are? Okay. So most of us pay all of that stuff. We don't have to pay your student loans.
All day. And if you didn't have these services that you pay taxes to pay for, then it would be private companies offering all of these services and you'd be paying a ton more money.
Well, since everyone is telling their student loan story, let me tell you mine. So
this might be the worst one. This lady, woman, younger, I can't even tell her age, whatever. This might be the very worst one. She tries to rationalize how she shouldn't be in this position. And it's everybody else's fault. And then she has a great solution at the end. She actually figured out the solution. You will love her solution.
Back in 2007, I was married at the time. I had 3 children, 6-month-old, a 1.5-year-old, and a 13-year-old. Decided to go back to school for certified medical assistant. Now back in 2007, you could not take that course at a community college. So I had to go to a private college. You could do the diploma or the associates. I was talked into doing the associate degree because I was told in the future I'd probably not be hireable with just a diploma. False. They are now offering certified medical assistant classes at the community colleges, and it's 10 months. Okay? The most you can make as a certified medical assistant
So she just admits on camera that her school lied to her. I didn't need to take 3 years of college. I could have went 10 months in a community college. That's your problem. They lied to you. Go sue them. Oh, but this gets really good.
live is roughly between $17 and $20, $20 being the high end. So I went to school for 2.5 years, took out student loans, took out an unsubsidized loan to offset for the income that I wasn't going to bring in while I was being in school. Well, graduation comes, I graduate, so I go ahead at that 6-month mark and I apply for the income-based repayment. I qualified, and the repayment was at $0. Now, it still did accrue interest, but my payment per month was $0. And every year I have recertified, and it has always been $0. So, now that Mr. Donald Trump has f***ed around with the Department of Education, those income-based repayment plans, they don't exist anymore. And starting in August, after 15 years, they expect me to repay $492 a month.
That was the payoff. I had to rewind and listen to that twice. And you know what? So now after 15 years, they expect me to pay. Oh, so you've been a deadbeat for 15 years. You just went on camera and told everybody, so I tried this, I tried that, and then, here I am 15 years later. Whoa. Yeah, that's a whole lot of yada, yada, yada. You skip past all that stuff. Well, your kids are grown now. Yeah, you got high schoolers or middle school. Your kids are grown. 15 years later, you're like, now I got to pay. Now, you should never went to school, honey.
That's half my rent. That's my car payment and car insurance. I'm just barely making it. I'm single. I'm a single mom. I'm not making ends meet. I had to stop paying in all these streaming apps for the TV. Right now, my internet's going to be cut off, and I'm going to let it be cut off because that's $100 a month, too.
Priorities. But the other priority I have, you mentioned you had 3 kids. Child support? Child tax credit? Can we go on and on and on? 15 years now, you're like, well, turn off the internet. I thought Obama was giving people free internet. But you got an Obama phone and all that stuff.
I have stripped myself down to the bare basic necessities. I can't cut any more out of my life. But if this decides to garnish my paycheck, I have no point of going on. What's the point? You're going to watch the suicide rates go way up, because how are we going to live? How?
So you're threatening us? Maybe you should go seek counseling. Instead of sitting here talking on TikTok or wherever it was, telling us about how bad it's going to be, and you're going to see suicide rates go up. All of that instead of trying to cut a deal with the people you owe money to. That's pretty sad.
I have a college degree. I can't make more than $20 an hour. Yeah, I picked the wrong degree.
You had to hear that. I make $20 an hour. I have a college degree. Yeah, I guess I picked the wrong degree. Oh my God, you got Democrats forcing, they want you to have to pay for this. Her decisions, not yours, not mine. Her decisions. Hey, I got a college degree, I make $20 an hour. Well, $20 an hour if you're working full time is what, $800 a week? That's $40,000 a year. You're single. Are you telling me that $40,000 a year you can't make ends meet with 3 kids, that maybe you should be paying almost nothing in income taxes? $40,000 a year. You expect people to feel sorry for you that you make $40,000 a year. Y'all feel sorry? Unless, of course, that's a part-time gig and that's what she gets paid doing, I don't know, something else. But you just told everybody, I make 40 grand a year on my own. But she's got a solution coming up. Great solution.
Myself in debt. 15 years ago, I thought I was doing a good thing, continuing my education while I still had little ones at home and a rambunctious teenager. And a husband and a home. I understand that we owe these student loans back. This is not free money. I get that. But these payment plans have been put in place so that people aren't sucked dry and can't afford to pay for anything else. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might have to enroll back in school and hope that, this is what I've been told in the past, that with your student loans and repayment, if you go back to school and take up more loans, then it kind of puts everything on hold while you're in school.
Oh, so her plan to get out of debt, checks notes, is to borrow more money. Let me go back to school and borrow more money so they can push those loans back and I won't have to pay loans now. This Einstein, who's went to college for 15 years ago, says that I've heard this. This is a great idea. Just take out more loans. I wouldn't have believed that if I didn't hear it myself. But she's got an even better plan.
School, so I'll just go to school the rest of my life. I don't know what else to do. I am disgusted. I'm scared. I'm worried. My daughter just took $10,000 in student loans out, and I had a long talk with her about these student loans. Honestly, if you can't afford to pay for school, don't go. Because these student loans now are going to destroy us. Every day, it just gets worse and worse and worse. There has not been a good day since that man stepped into office. There has not been one day of no bullshit, no bullshit. I'm at a loss. I've just been sitting here thinking I don't and will not have an extra $500. So I guess the only solution to my problem is to find a man, find a fucking woman. We can pair up. We can put our income together, put our assets together. That's the only way this shit's gonna work anymore. If you're a single mom, there's no hope for us.
Oh, God.
They don't want us to get ahead. They don't. I feel like they're trying to kill off the underprivileged, the addicted, the homeless, the poor, our veterans. It's disgusting and it's sick, and I don't even want to be here. I don't even want to be here anymore. And to all you young girls in childbearing ages, I would not bring a child into this world. I would choose not to have children. I feel bad that I'm going to have to leave my kids in this world one day. Anyways, that's my 2 cents worth. I'm sure nobody will listen till the end. Nobody will have anything positive to say. It'll just, they just come at you all day long. If they know that you back the blue, you know, we're going to come for you. Well, we'll see what tomorrow brings, right? What more can happen? Have a f***ing good day.
I really can't believe it's people.
So I hope you caught her solution. Her solution was complete ambivalence to another partner. I don't know, I'm going to shack up with a dude or a girl. I don't know. Either way, if I live with her or, you know, move in with him, or either way, we can put both incomes together. Maybe that'll work. Oh, that's a selling point to some guy. Excuse me. Hey, so are you working? Yeah. Well, you know, why don't we get together? And I'll do what I can in those places I need to do, and you pay off my student loan, okay? Okay, we got. So maybe she went to OnlyFans University.
In the comments of this student loan situation, talking about yeah, this is how the world works. You borrow money, you pay it back. Shut your stupid ass up. A fucking school loan ain't the same as an auto loan or a home loan or a personal loan, you damn idiot.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be laughing. A student loan ain't the same thing as a home loan or a credit card or a car loan. Keep going, honey, because they are. The only thing difference is you don't have to start paying until you get out of school, but it is exactly the same. You owe the money, you pay interest, you pay the loan. Who told you it's not the same?
Black people, minorities especially, had to go to school. We ain't left shit. We had to go to school. I had no choice but to go to damn school. And then when I went to school, it wasn't like I'm working for my damn self now. I'm making money for other people. And the money gets taxed. This shit is all going back into the hand. It's like a big ass circle, and y'all fail to realize that.
These people had no idea what life was. What do you mean? Oh, so you go to work and then you get paid. Yeah. And on that paycheck, there's this thing called FICA. What the hell is FICA? They're going to take it every 2 weeks for the rest of your life. You didn't know about that? You still didn't realize that was going to keep happening? And they just keep taking my money. Exactly. That's what President Trump has been telling you. You people haven't listened. You people haven't learned. The government has been stealing your money and sending it to the Ukraine. Now you finally get it, don't you? Probably not. Probably still don't understand it. Government keeps taking my money. It's like a big circle. Uh-huh. That's exactly what he's been telling you. But you don't want to listen. You thought it was just us. You just thought it was people who made money. Oh no, honey, it's hitting you too now.
Your fucking credit score is made the fuck up. That's some made up shit. Money made the fuck up. This is a system. America is a system. I'm confused at how the hell y'all still don't realize this shit. Then on top of that, y'all ain't even willing to try to make reasonable payment plans. Y'all ain't even trying to do like $100 a month. Y'all want the whole shit. Y'all want $2,000.
Somebody buy her an amortization table and send it to her. So these people can figure out, or better yet, honey, go look at your promissory note. Go look at your note, pick it up. You know, when you buy a car, I've bought a car. Many of you have bought a car. You guys have bought cars. You go look at the car. Here's what it is. Here's how much you pay. You buy a house. Here's what it is. How much of it goes towards interest? How much goes towards principal? It's like these people just woke up. They literally just woke up and were like, we owe money? Real money? Yes. And my credit score might get dinged? Yes. Hey, how did you just realize this?
A month on a damn degree that people ain't even using. When I got out of school, I couldn't even use my degree right away. They wanted 100 years of experience. Like, what?
These are the best. These videos right here should be played at trade school. When you go there with matriculation, hey, here's why you should be going to air conditioning school. Here's why you should be going to culinary school. Here's why you should be going to roofer school. Because these people telling you, I went to school, I paid all this money, I owe it all, I ain't making enough to pay it, and I didn't learn anything. Did you go back to the school and ask them, hey man, I spent 4 or 5 years here. I went to every class. I got grades. I got a degree. And everywhere I go, they tell me you can wipe my butt with that degree. Yeah, we've pretty much been telling you that too.
Y'all garnish my wages. I'm garnishing my damn job. Period. I get energy siphoned daily. Restraining myself from hopping through the computer and choking people out daily. And I've been doing this shit since I've been 16. I've been working in America since I've been 16 and ain't got too much shit to show for it other than the standard American properties. So, bitch, if you disagree with whatever I say, you could do the hokey pokey, turn your ass around, lick your own ass, and burn in hell, bitch. I don't know if I've had too many magical chocolates, but I'm gonna need y'all to really wrap your mind around what we're really in, because y'all are sick.
In case you... And it's our fault. It's our fault because you guys just woke up to adulthood. And you're mad at us because you're going to pay back a loan, telling us that, you know, your life sucks now because you have to make a loan payment. It sucks because the government is going to collect on something you owe, and you're mad at us. You're Republican. Now you're knowing. Now you're understanding what life is like. I'm sorry the Democrats have lied to you. I'm sorry the Democrats have made you look like a fool, but now you realize it. They lied to you. You're mad at us because we're like, I ain't paying it. I'm not paying your loan.
The Department of Education announced that on May 5th, we will restart collections of student loans in default. The federal student loan portfolio stands at nearly $1.7 trillion, and only 4 in 10 student borrowers are in repayment. Unlike the previous administration, who made false promises and pushed an illegal student loan bailout, we will not force American taxpayers to take on the debts that are not theirs. There's no such thing as forgiveness, just shifting the payment burden from one party to another. Borrowers should pay back the debts they take on. Please visit studentaid.gov for more information on student loan repayment options.
All right. So, that was Linda McMahon explaining to these kids what they have to do. You took out the loan, you owe the money, pay it back. And so now I'm going to show you the problem and how it's being perpetuated by the Democrats. Democrats are freaking out that little Shirley and Shaniqua are going to have to pay their money back. And so here's how the Democrats always throw whatever advice on a problem. An adult problem. An adult issue that you committed to. And this is what the Democrats have to say.
Breaking news. If you have student loans, Donald Trump announced today that you're going to have to start paying them back in May. For 5 years, there's been a forbearance on student loans. No one has had to pay these loans back to the government if they can't afford it. Donald Trump is changing that. You're going to now have to pay $500,000 a month if you have these student loans, even if you had a forbearance. And if you don't pay them, they are actually going to come after your paychecks to garnish your wages, and they can destroy your credit. Please stand up. let's make sure that we don't allow Trump to go after those who had student loans. I took out over $100,000 in student loans. I knew how hard it was to pay it back and had to take forbearances. I'm going to fight to make sure that people are not going bankrupt because of Trump's policy.
That's a guy from California. So somebody asked him, you guys are advocating for people not to have to pay back loans. Okay, that's a winning strategy. Hey, be a deadbeat. You owe $1.7 trillion. You agreed to taking $1.7 trillion plus interest, whatever. But it's our fault because now you gotta pay. The Democrats never have any fiscal responsibility. None. They're the ones who perpetuate these people being mad. They're the ones who have put these people in a position where they don't understand even the slightest, not even a modicum of economic policy. They have no idea. They've been caught completely flat-footed because of Democrat policies, because Democrats have decided that it's best to keep people stupid and in debt. Don't think about achieving. Don't think about being prosperous. Notice he never said that. Hey, listen, I'm so-and-so from California, and I've got an idea that's going to help you become more prosperous so you can handle your student loan debt. Nope. Want to keep you in debt. The debt's not going anywhere. So, what are you going to do? Pat him on the head and say, hey, we're trying to get you another forbearance agreement? Ain't going to happen. But as long as I can keep you dependent on the government, I can keep you from becoming a good member of society. And you can blame the white people and Donald Trump and the guys in red hats, and it's everybody else. It's the monster in the closet, except it's you. And I don't mean you people, I mean like the person who took out the loan. And it's funny because I've had these conversations over and over and over. I have walked into homes where people are in foreclosure and they're mad at the bank. And I have to keep my decorum and smile at them because I'm like, sign this piece of paper, okay? Because I'm going to sell this, okay? I could sell this. So I'm going to buy it from you. I'm going to pay off the bank, and then I'm going to make a good amount of money. And I hear it all the time. And then one guy pissed me off so much, I said to him, do me a favor. I have a question. I don't understand. How did the bank do all this to your house? Why are there roaches running from here and there? Why is there cat poop in the corner? The bank didn't do that. You did. And he got all mad at me. And I'm like, listen, you get mad all you want. They're going to take it from you. It's gone. So I can help you. We could do something. But you got to stop blaming other people. I was so pissed off. I was so pissed off. And then his wife was sitting right there. And she's sitting like this. And guys, you know the look. And one of my great marketing things I would do is, because everyone always offers you something to drink. Well, I wasn't going to drink nothing in this guy's house, but I asked for it anyway. Hey, can you get me a glass of water? And he'd leave. And I looked directly in this woman's eyes. And I know she had a couple kids because I saw them running around. And I said, what would happen and how would your life be affected if he never came back from that kitchen? And you would be surprised how many times I've asked that question. And people would sit back and like, where are you? Where are you going to be with these kids if he doesn't come out of that kitchen? Something happens. And it hits them all at once. Like, oh, you're in trouble, aren't you? Yeah. Sign the damn paper. Sign the paper and don't worry about all this. Because what's most important are those kids right there. And I would have told that girl the same thing. Stop. If you got to eat, if you got to live, do whatever you need to do to eat and live. Because once you face that dilemma of, what am I going to eat tonight? Once you face that dilemma of, wow, the lights are off. you will learn very quickly what it means to be an adult. You will learn fast. Because at that point, when you have little options, you'll figure out which ones can actually work. Hopefully they're not bad ones for you. So, I have little patience for that kind of stuff because it's crying. I mean, I would never have thought to just, they're making me pay. Oh my gosh, why am I paying? They're making me pay. No, the question you should be asking yourself is, what can I do to improve my life? The government knows you're probably not going to be able to make that payment because you haven't made it in 5 years. So the question you need to be asking yourself is, how do I get myself out of this? Well, the first way is to figure out how to make more money. The second way is to figure out how you got there. What weren't you paying? Because if you imagine you didn't pay, what that one lady say, for 15 years? If you didn't pay the loan for 15 years, you should be sitting on a whole bunch of money in the bank. Your lifestyle made that money go away. And when you tell people that, and like, these are your decisions, honey. Nobody else made those decisions. You didn't put it in a mutual fund. You didn't do anything. Your kids can't go to college. Your kids can't. What are you going to do? And then if you got someone to blame those people over there, those Democrats, because they didn't take the time to sit down with you 15 years ago when you were still married and said, okay, now you need to plan. Because this storm off in the coast here, it's coming. You're going to have to pay. Like the other lady said, I ignored it. Well, then why are we supposed to pay it? It's crazy. I went to nursing school while working as a paramedic on the weekends. It's crazy. Barry needs to get off his high horse. Yeah, I love these people. How about you just, leave? I'm sorry if you feel that, paying a bill, something adults do, paying a bill is being on a high horse. Expecting other people to pay the bill, that's a low horse. How about you stay on your little horse, your little pony? Oh my God. Yeah. Those little kids should be your top priority and they come first. Absolutely. That's a bot. Probably a bot. Let's see. I worked my way through nursing school one course at a time with a husband and 2 kids. Absolutely. All the more reason to teach finances in school to everyone. And so I talked to you guys a couple days ago about what Scott Besson is doing and how he's bringing that stuff to the forefront. And he's going to be doing his thing Tuesday night. I think Monday night. Monday night is Scott Besson. Tuesday night is Donald Trump's rally. And I laugh at that person, who dehydrated nurse, and what they say, because I've got those. I've had those kind of comments literally for decades. I've been called a vulture because I buy foreclosures and make money on the foreclosure, instead of people saying, like, the pursuit of happiness. What is it you do and how do you do it? Because the mentality of people is they don't know, and so it's easy to blame others. The Dane Company says any debt can be discharged. Sorry to tell you, that's not true. That's not true with student loans. You can't discharge the government. Government gonna get theirs one way or another. Yeah, you can file bankruptcy and all kinds of things. You can try. You can't discharge a government debt. Ain't going anywhere. So I don't know who told you that. They want a free ride all the way, which is why communism appeals to them. That's for sure. People have to realize they aren't entitled to everything. You're absolutely right. Others shouldn't have to pay off others' loans. It's their problem. They took it out. Absolutely. I paid $50,000 to put a woman through nursing school, and then she left me. Oh boy, it's crazy. All right, so we've been here for a while. I just wanted to show you that, and I can't believe people are like, oh no, it's a high horse. Not a high horse. You haven't been out. Never mind. Not going to go there. Not going to go there. I can't believe some people. So let's see what's going to happen. At 4:30, President Trump is supposed to sign some executive orders, and usually the video comes out shortly thereafter. Once that video comes out, I'll go ahead and get it cut so that I have it for you guys this evening, and we'll cover it in the evening show. So the evening show tonight, 7:30. Let's see what we got in terms of super chats. Big week next week. Huge week next week with the Turning Point event on finances with Scott Bessent and with President Trump's big rally. So let's go ahead and, where am I? Look at the screen real quick. I can't believe it's already 4:30. I've been telling Ashley, hey, listen, I'm going to go shorter. I'm not going to do 3-hour shows. We're going to do things differently. I guess not. All right. Tilly, I stand by President Trump no matter what. I believe God, Jesus, is guiding him for we the people around the world. Thank you, Tilly. Tilly again. Or it just came in twice. Tilly, again, just want to say hi to all my fanfare family. Hello. Wow, Tilly, again. I would feel so lost without Barry and the fanfare family. Man, I love you guys. It's fun. Gregory Robsonovich, the reporter-in-chief was Obama. Where were the judges then? Because they know that President Trump, this is just one part of what he's going to be doing. Lou Jack Martinez, President Trump speaks with simple, profound clarity, and that he does. Far Isle, I hope we stop fearing MSM. The only people that watch them now are the people who lost the election. Go full Andrew Jackson, President Trump. Maximus, Barry, I leave on a red eye tonight to another state that's trying to keep us from picking up a person that has an open and active extradition warrant and deportation order. Stay safe, man. Stay safe. In case you guys don't know Maximus, he's a law enforcement officer. Melody Hart, please look up the 3 prophecies of George Washington at Valley Forge. We are in the 3rd prophecy. The first 2 came to pass. We are inside the 3rd. This is in the Library of Congress. I will look that up. Mr. Anderson, Ferguson, Washington just signed a bill for reparations nationwide. Black first-time homebuyers get $120,000. And they're going to end up like these women we just saw. Veteran biker, the Godfather speaks just a grifter shot. Somebody's out there been accusing the veteran biker of being a grifter. It's sad. Tommy Ratcliffe, Trump had to ensure loyalty within the executive enforcement departments before he could tell the judges to pound sound. Brilliant. Buckle up. I'm all for it. Tilly. Hey, veteran biker, good to see you. Dennis Myers, thank you. Omegadrome, Barry, please reiterate that tidbit of real estate acquisition mentioned last week. Which one? There's so many tidbits I drop here. So hit me up with what you want me to, the rest you want me to say. Tilly, without President Trump, we would already be a communist country. I believe that. Karen Martin, not a Ghostbuster, Barry. For that, we need you. Mudlark, Patriots will have to fight for your country. I stand behind my president always. Yes. Jose Bazil, Barry, they are pushing this so they can say communism is upon us. Jose, I'd rather hear Midas bark than the mainstream media anytime. He's cantankerous sometimes. Miss Avi, so it's why they are so out of control and cocky. Statute of limitation. Bring it then, Trump. No holds barred. Yeah, the statute of limitation for most of the crimes that they have done, they've been able to delay, and they've expired. But as I was telling Hans, treason has no statute of limitations. Hard to prove, but nonetheless, drag them through it. Tracy Day. To Florida fanfare mangrove shoots don't dig up, but if floating in water, free game. Online price 10 to 15 a piece. They don't want 10 to 20 at a time. They want 50 to 500 in one order. Do the math and invest in a net. 1995. Ladybug, Trump has had 4 years to map this out. I've seen this from day one. It's coming. They're just lining things up in preparation. My guess is next week. Not sure if it's next week, but I firmly believe it's coming. To me, it's the best explanation for what we're seeing. Trumpinator, you don't need to go to college to get brainwashed. True that. CR, I paid all my student loans. The Obama's government went after me. I paid them off, so they need to pay, in my opinion. See, that's another good point. They think it's just Trump starting this, not realizing president after president after president enforced student loans. Solrak, well, if nobody enforces the law or tries to get him out, or they can't do it, or if he has full control power, he can basically stay on power after 2028. Even ChatGPT says that, even though it's breaking the rules. I'm not going to go there, but that's what I'm saying. Once he goes nuclear, all kinds of things are going to happen. Trumpinator, they are so smart because they went to college. Granny C's charges F ortho T word can go to military tribunals. Tim McMurray, win and takes, knowing you're going to win, understanding your enemy, also having the strength, courage, and fortitude and resiliency, conviction, and steadfastness to actually win. Maximus, Barry, I'm suing you for making me dumber listening to these people. Oh, if I had to see it, you had to see it, man. Just another knucklehead. I think student loans cannot be included in bankruptcy. Absolutely. That's what I was telling the other guy. You can't discharge them. You have to pay your student loan. Charlie Ramos, Barry, all those students bought into the lie of Biden, and none of them mentioned Warren, Pocahontas, who make millions at Harvard. Cajun Scully, colleges get money from the government, and on top of that, they get all the loan money as well. And no culpability, and a stupid kid. Mr. Mike, I pay a mortgage payment and I pay a second mortgage payment as well. So basically 2 mortgages. These people crack me up. It is. It's a clown show. What did I do here? Oh, C. Mills, noticing a pattern here, who they are. I looked, so I just want you ladies to know, I wasn't being prejudicial. I was looking for guys, and they were all women. It was all, I would go from site to site, I would do searches, and it was all women. Liberal women. Demon of Cybertron, speaking of bad decisions, Barry, have you heard that DoorDash is offering Klarma, a 4-payment plan, and these irresponsible people are excited about it? Yeah, they want to go ahead and finance dinner. Think about that. You can't afford to go to a restaurant, so you want to finance it. Nobody said these people were smart. Maximus, Barry, my wife got one of those Biden loans and we agreed to pay it back because I knew it was illegal. What's that say? Jimmy Severino. I don't know how that got there. In California, fast food workers make $20 an hour. Now the poor can't even afford to eat cheap food. The problem is historically fast food jobs are for teens and second income for moms' family vacations. Yep. Angela Diliberto, thank you for keeping us informed, Barry. I think that someone pulled the call on hand, so we couldn't hear the answer to that question. No coincidences. That was kind of weird. Penny Cordo, your wages will be garnished, or you can make arrangements to make affordable payments based upon your income, but do it before it's mandated. You have to talk to the person you owe money to. Juan Perez, thank you. That's not the Juan Perez I know. And Peter Ulrich, let them repossess your diploma. It's worthless anyway. All right, everybody, it's time for the after party. Thank you, guys. Ooh, I can't believe we've been here 3.5 hours. I cannot believe that. I wonder what happened if I just did a 1-hour show. Hey, thank you, good night. We're done. I'd probably be able to cover 2 shows, and that's it. I feel like this is crazy. Love it though. Love sitting with you guys. All right, see you tonight, 7:30, and we'll cover Trump doing his executive orders, which, after he signs the executive orders, he then answers more questions. Wow. Talk to you soon.